Get 'em, Jimmy, where low shack at? The bottle's getting nifty up the crack and we stacking chips, all of it's what I want. Plus money winners, that's what I'm on. You can say I'm gone. I prefer elevated pub sports radio. Time to get educated, get produced, leave the juice, letting loose with so much abuse that the bookies wanna call it truth. They getting slaughtered. Can't forget Jeff and low baggers in the chat. That's a lethal weapon 'cause we be pubbing.
Cappers, gamblers, punters, hustlers, low baggers. Happy Friday, October 13th to all of you. Thank you for watching Betting with the Bag right here on Pub Sports Radio. It was a great day yesterday. I didn't move on the first 5 under 4.5 in the Phillies-Braves game. I'm glad that you guys all cashed it. We continue to be hitting the spots that we're all on. But the Braves are in the NLCS. Excuse me. God. The Phillies are in the NLCS. My 8.5 to 1 to win the pennant is extremely live. My 17 to 1 to win the World Series is extremely live. And it's almost unfathomable that I'll be able to turn a profit in this MLB season, possibly. And a legit one. Hard to believe. Hard to believe. We went 2-0 in NHL last night. The teams that we faded with confidence, the Kraken and Panthers that we spoke about at length, didn't score a goal. The Predators cashed. The -1 I had queued up on the Predators, but I think that the -110 will just be my limit. Wild -1 cashed. And we begin fading the Florida Panthers every game until they get Montour Ekblad back. And one of the most profitable angles of this show's history is fading a hockey team missing 2 of their top 4 defensemen. Now we get to fade a hockey team where the whole world has a recency bias of them making the Stanley Cup Finals, and they're missing their 2 best defensemen. And if you think that you can survive with all of Neckman Larson playing on your first line, I will be rewarded financially, and I will be pointing at the screen laughing at Oliver Ekman Larson. So it was successful. Now, we got a little fortunate. The Blues' first period pushed. The Stars did score a goal with 8 seconds left. That was negated, thankfully. And the Sharks' first period pushed. Dallas scored with about 4.5 minutes left, but then Sharks answered with about 2.5 minutes left. So we're now, 24.11% ROI in NHL to start the year with an average line of +113. And it's important for me to get off to a good start in my bread and butter, in my best sport. And that's hockey. I know it annoys some of you cappers that don't love hockey or bet hockey like us, but for me, it's what brought me here. It's what's given me this opportunity. I wouldn't have this show without hockey. My very first year down in Costa Rica, nobody had made it past that 3-month mark at that point, people who weren't, I don't know. Of course, one capper did make it down there, but no one had made it down that I had been told of who had been on these 3-month contracts. And I got up 43 units in NHL, and they kept me around. And that was the only reason at that point, really, that they kept me around, was because I was up 43 units in NHL, 3.5 months into the season. So that's why I'm here. And I want to win on badly. Also, this is the type of time of year where I'm just, there's no sleep. There's no rest. Last night, my man, Troy Torrance, who his wife is, her due date was 2 days ago for their first child. We put out a video last night at 10 p.m. Eastern. We put out a best bets video to try something different. We have 7 best bets in an 8-minute video. And, the fact that he really wants this so badly and wants the show to succeed so badly and wants to do a show at 10 p.m. at night, when his wife is just about to give birth, it pumped me up so much. So that was part of the reason why we had a late night. Also, I was celebrating the fact that the Phillies could pay me out just under $9,000. So I'm pretty pumped up, man. I'm pretty pumped up, even though I have a lack of sleep. And you guys know me, when I have a lack of sleep, I'm like about to emote all the time, which is something I rarely do. And I'm on edge, and and all that stuff. But that's what it is, and that's what it isn't. Shout out to all the cappers in the chat. Viper NB in the house. Yeah, Vipe. Good start to the NHL season. Andrew D says, on my way to catch my under 49.5 and Chiefs Broncos tickets. That was another thing. I kept telling Troy before that game. I was like, I got my finger on the trigger for this Broncos plus 10.5, and I can't press the button. I can't do it. I couldn't do it. I was like, I'm not going to do it. And they lose by 11. Unbelievable. Sammy Calmer, quarter set over 10.5 games plus 134. Quarter over 24 games at minus 112. First set over 10.5 games. So also, our man Jose is off to Tennessee for his buddy's wedding. So I'm producing this show. So I won't be able to really highlight as much of the chat as I would like. I will do my best to do all that, but I won't be able to, unfortunately. But let's make sure that we get Sammy Calmer's action up there. Ian Chambers says the under last night, but West Virginia did me dirty even for the night. That was a wild ending to West Virginia, Houston. Justin McElvey stats play today is Memphis team total over 24. This is an interesting card here, right? No baseball today. Of course, Ian and I are going to cap CFL because there's real edges you can get at the end of seasons in all major sports, especially football. But I've added 2 best bets, and they were almost part of the show. They were my last cuts for best bets of wine time yesterday. So I've added 2 best bets to the end of the card, 2 college football best bets. And I also bet one of wine times looks. I took the under 67 in Oregon, Washington. 67.5 yesterday. It's 66.5 at Pinnacle, 67 at Bet365. So now I have 6 bets on the college football card. And I let Bobano know about those 2 games so he could take a look at them because they're lower profile games. I don't care. Look, I don't care that they're low profile games. I just want money. I just want to get cash, and I want to give out winners, and I want to break down a game that I bet. I don't want to just break down the game because this is very exciting. This is the stats around. So stats play today is in. That is Tulane, Memphis. I've not moved on the Friday games, and we were going to break them down with Bobano, and I'm looking forward to all of that. Justin McAfee says, strong night last night, but my Braves, God, it was fun to watch that. Look, no offense to your Braves, but my bankroll needs padding badly, and welcoming in 9K would help very much, and it would also come right before the Breeders' Cup, so it's all extremely important to me. Serious Business in the house. I love when Serious Business runs with us. As soon as I say his name, I know the man, and I just know that he's all about the work and the cash. That's why he calls himself Serious Business, because that's what this is. I always love saying his name. It always locks me in. Danny Kelly in the house. JP, he said, wild pick was money. Felt like it was my birthday. That was the birthday pick yesterday. And I told you guys, and look, this is Peter Loshak's domain, but my birthday picks are as strong as they've ever been before. I don't know how many in a row I've hit, but it's an alarming amount, and I'm excited. Now, this is not my domain, and this is the first time I've ever been hot. I've always been afraid of birthday picks because it's Loshak's domain, but shout out to Jarek White and Jacqueline who celebrated their birthday. Minnesota Wild was the birthday pick. Jay Smooth in the house. Mike M says, glorious evening. Cash the pimp slap play today. College football teaser. St. Louis went under, and the Phillies advance. What a night. North End says, clean little 3-0 day yesterday. Let's keep the momentum. That's what it was, North End. You're right. It was a clean day. I managed to stay off the Broncos. I should have been with you guys on the first 5 under 4.5 in the baseball game, but I sat back and watched the Phillies move on to the NLCS. It's just it was clean, man. 2-0 in NHL, clean, man. Slide says back-to-back winning nights in the NHL, but nothing I like so far tonight. And Slide said to me, take on the Panthers is gold. Thank you. It's 6 years of us cashing this bet, but we've never had the opportunity to fade a Stanley Cup finalist with this right off the top of the year to get this extra juice fading the Panthers. That's just, glorious. And I got there under 98.5 points. And again, if you like the Panthers, you'll get your chance. Wait till Montour and Ekblad are back. And if they're good enough to go, if their shoulders are fine, then you're going to get a really, really nice number. Avon Polo in the house. North Ender says Kraken regression season in full effect. I don't know how long it's going to last. And good God, North Ender, did that take me months to put the pieces together. And also the real reason why I think I put it together was because I thought about my hockey career. When you have a surprise team that runs together and finds that magic, you'll show up next year and you'll be like, where'd the magic go? Why is this harder than it was last year? I've been in that situation before. Mal says Rangers, Nashville, Vegas, NHL is back, baby. And Dan Kelly, I looked for your Wemba prop. I don't have it at my book, so maybe I was even thinking of opening up a FanDuel account just to get that free $1,000 bet and then putting it on that. And it was Wembanyama deleting blocks 13-1. Fly White Mike in the house. Thank you, TJ, my man. And he said should have made Philly the gift. You know, that's what we know about Tocchet and Torts and those tough-ass coaches is that their teams are ready to go game 1. They're not usually ready to go game 82 or beyond, but that's another story. My guy, Luke Murphy, I got to get back to you, Luke, my man. My bad. It's just being crazy, crazy busy here this time of year. Sweaty Butcher, Coin, epic cover with Houston +3. Wine Time covered that, caught that as well. Short Shot Timmy in the house. Real Deal Prime, a birdie ready to get to work. Director 97. I love that. Director 97 getting that cake because you make big boy bets, man. RVD 420 going 2-0 in the NFL. Sammy Comer, Devils over 6.5. Pens Caps draw +338. Ooh. Sammy down to business here. Let's copy and paste that action right now. Sorry, get that to the NHL. I've not moved on these 2 NHL games, and we'll work on them and break them down. I also think that breaking these games down here and going over the rosters like we've been doing we're going to be really helpful for the first few games of the year. So it kind of stretches. All right, let's get to work, my man. BT in the house. Rocco Rogers. Wine Time Sports has meant that Houston game was wild last night. Should have seen my reaction on the live stream with the fellas last night. Oh, I love it. And Wine Time, my guy, I did tail. I don't know if you caught that off the top, but I did tail your under in Washington, Oregon. TJ says the gift falls to 37 and 18. Imagine falling to that. God, what a gift you have been to us, TJ. Make this copy and paste that record so I have it up to date here. Mike Wilkerson says birthday weekend. Anybody got an easy winner for me? Mikey, I think I do. If it's your birthday weekend, I mean, we can give it to you Saturday. I think I have one tonight, and I think it's going to be the first game we cap. But I bet it already. But I would like to hear Bobano give me confidence in it. And then there's a couple other spots, but I think we do have that for you. So I've got that copied, Mike Wilkerson. That's your birthday weekend. Rem Most ready to go. Dan Kelly said, did you sign your kids up for hockey this year? No, I didn't. But we have, Carter's 2. We just got skates, and we're just going to skate. I'm nervous about, and Ella, we're just going to skate. I'm nervous about, Ella's, very hesitant about wanting to play. I want to be very calm in getting them into it. I don't want to, force it. It's too important. So we're going to go once a week and skate together and just kind of find it. All right. Big Scott in the house. He's got OV anytime goal and the Capitals money line. God, what's happened to this matchup, man? I used to look so much forward to it. The only way I want to see the Pittsburgh Penguins play right now is if I'm using them in NHL 24. Arnillo, told you Sutton TD. Boy, Arnillo, respect. Justin McElvey, everybody ready to rock. So let's get going. Troy Torrance in the house. And Troy and I's NFL best bets is up right now. 7 best bets in 8 minutes. And Brady says, do you have your young lad walking around the house in them yet? Will help with his balance. I don't, but that's a good call. Yeah, I get the skate guards on walking around the house. Okay, I'll do that. Remo says hockey is a hella expensive as well. It is, but I've asked my dad for one thing. Just one thing. I've never asked for anything from him. One thing. That if anything happens to me, he pays for Carter's hockey. That's it. One thing. That's all I ask him for. One thing. He said yes. Thank you, Puddin 586. All right, we got to get to work here. Razor sharp picks. Look at him running. We're so lucky so fortunate that we have Razor. All these great cappers in the chat. Razor just coming on here to put money in our pocket. Respect. Okay, director says, any thoughts on the Pittsburgh Penguins money line? We're going to go all over that. There's Richie Rich finally back. When Richie Rich runs with us, when NHL gets back, I love it. I love it. So let's get to work here. Dan Kelly says, NBA preseason a few hours ago, you get Spurs -4.5. Now they're 7. The reason money going on preseason games is because Pop said he wants to win these games, and these young guys are let me copy that, paste this, are getting lots of playing time. Yeah, no, it's important. It's important. All right, so Kong's clips off a big day. I love seeing that. Sorry, let me get this off here. Okay, let's get to work. All right, Sweaty Butcher in the house. Ronnie Imbergia, Christopher Commentini, Nate Dog 420, Philly Eagle Flyer. It is a great group. Eric Jones in the house. Robert Franklin. Great to see all of you guys. And it is time now to get to work. There's Dan Bonner in the house. My Flyers tied for first. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, let's get to work here right now. Again, I am producing the show, so it's going to be a little tricky here for me. So hang with me. Let me know if I got the wrong game up or anything like that's going on. And Jose, by the way, he had to leave at 7 a.m. He was up all night sending he edited the college football video of Wine Time Sports. Then me and Troy and I, we capped that. We did that Best Bets NFL video at 10 o'clock, finished at maybe 10:45, 11. Then he edited that and put the games underneath it. And then he set up the graphics for me. So Jose in the air right now, heading off to Tennessee. Thank you for all the hard work that you put in nonstop. It means everything to me and it inspires me to work harder. And same with you, Troy, wanting to put that video at 10 o'clock at night inspires me to work harder. And all of you guys in the chat that are putting out your action, asking for nothing in return, it just inspires me so much. And your first guest, his work ethic, every time he comes on this show inspires me so much. And it, I want this for us so badly. We need to improve our lives through capping. And, last year was the best year I've ever had as a capper. 11 straight winning months. Everything just kind of fell into place. And then this year was tough. If I could get this Phillies cake coming in and we can, finish the season strong and finish NFL strong, because it would mean so much to me, because you get out of life what you put in, and we are working our asses off for this. So let's fucking get it. Let's bring on your first guest this evening. He will be at Tim Hortons Field in Hamilton, Ontario, 52 Fahrenheit, cloudy, 5 miles per hour. And this could be a best bet possibly for Mike Wilkerson here, but he'll have to tell us if it's the right thing to do. Let's go. Canada's black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow. Hamilton, Ontario in the house. Please welcome Mr. Ian Cameron to the show. Bobano, how are you?
I'm good, Jimmy. What's up? It's our final home game this year. I can't believe it. I mean, the CFL season starts and it ends just like that every year, and it seems like it just flies by. And this year, more of the same. So we wrap up another season down at the Donut Box tonight.
The Donut Box will be in effect. There's some sites, and I don't know what you've seen. There's some sites that say that it could rain late in the game, and there's some that say it's not going to rain.
It's not going to rain. Not till overnight.
Not till overnight. Okay, that's important. All right, let's get right to work here. So let me get this all set up. We get into CFL first. We have 2 games on Friday and 2 games on Saturday. And this one, the one where our Bobano will be at, is the only game that I have bet. BC Lions 11-5, 5-3 on the road. The Hamilton Tiger Cats 8-8, 3-5 at home. And let's pull up the line history here for this one. And my belief here, and I need Bobano to kind of direct this for us, but my belief is that the Lions, after that heartbreaking loss, they were up 10. We'll discuss that with about 4 minutes left and then lose in overtime, have let go. And if that's the case, then this plus 3.5, I don't want to use the word because TJ is hitting at such a high rate with it, but it seems like a very wonderful opportunity for us to bet. Now, this plus 3.5 did get up to minus 121 at 1:38 in the morning. It's just minus 112 now. So it's only moved 7 cents. If it was a week 10, I would be all over the Lions to bounce back. But I don't think that they believe the Bombers are going to lose out here. And there's a lot on the line for Hamilton. So this total is at 48.5. It's moved 4 cents towards the over. The Lions still have a shot at first place, and the Ticats still have a chance to host the Eastern Semi. So the only way the Lions can do that is if Winnipeg loses back-to-back. And who in their world thinks that that would happen to the Bombers? And I'm sure they don't think that's going to happen. And if that's the case, then we are going to get paid here tonight with Hamilton plus 3.5. And I would be extremely confident in it. In that loss, Vernon Adams, 19 of 33, 352 yards and a touchdown. They didn't look good in the second half. They felt the pressure. The Bombers, turned it up. Matthew Betts did record his 16th sack, so he's one short of Brent Johnson's record for a Canadian player. And, Brent Johnson, one of the most beloved Lions of all time, but Matthew Betts would be honored. We'd all be honored if he could break it. It's this defense that's so messed up. If you look at their overall numbers, they're very good. You look at second and fewest offensive TDs allowed, second in offensive yards allowed, third in points, but that's not what we see out on the field. We see a defense that looks vulnerable. And also Smoke has a rib issue. So Smoke Mizell is not going to start, at least. Campbell says that Jaquan Hardy will be starting here. They want to see what they can get out of Jaquan Hardy as a late signing. And this ground game has not looked good. So maybe Smoke is really hurt here. 48 yards on 12 carries against the Bombers. We're last. The Lions are last in the CFL in yards per game on the ground. So, and he was limited to 6 carries for 23 yards himself against Winnipeg. And a huge third one he couldn't get there. Hamilton comes in off an impressive 38-13 win at Saskatchewan. They're playing their best football of the year. Won 5 of their last 7 and have covered 5 of their last 7. And Bo Levi Mitchell will make his first home start for the Ticats. It's amazing with that $1.62 million 3-year extension that it's finally arrived here. But now with Schiltz looking very good because Schiltz came in and went 16 of 19 for 271 yards with 2 touchdowns. And Taylor Powell. I mean, now you have 3 excellent quarterbacks, and teams like the Roughriders have 0. The 2 of them, Schiltz and Bo, combined for 400 yards, 20 of 25. James Butler is having a big season on the ground, and we saw that change when Milanovic took over his offensive coordinating duties. We saw the run game just erupt, and we don't know how. So how long do you think Mitchell is going to play here, Bobano? And do you think the Lions have let go? Because if they have, well, this is a casher. Take it away, Bobano. The floor is yours. You will be there live in person tonight. Tim Hortons Field, Hamilton, Ontario. Take it away.
Yeah, I'm not as convinced, honestly, that this is a slam dunk for Hamilton. Hamilton really can't move up either. They're not catching Montreal. Montreal, all they have to do is beat Edmonton. I think they're going to beat Edmonton, which we'll get to in just a moment. And that's it for all the hopes to be hosting the East semifinal. That's why I think this is going to be the last home game. And remember, Hamilton's lost the tiebreaker to Montreal as well. So even if when they play Montreal in Montreal later this season, they win that game, they still lose the tiebreaker. So I don't think Hamilton's got that real thought in their mind that they're going to be second in the East. I think they're pretty much locked into third, that they're going to be going on the road for that East semifinal. And obviously that's the case with BC. Like BC's got to hope that Winnipeg loses out. I don't think that's happening. And I am worried about BC from this standpoint, that game that they put everything into, decided first place essentially last week. You had that very good start, and you had a chance to win that game. Dominique Grimes, what are you thinking, man? You got to go down there. You've got to know the clock. You've got to know the situation there and realize that you've got a kicker that has not missed many this year. And Sean White, he's actually kicking better now than he has, I think, in a very long time. This guy's gotten better with age, like a fine wine. But Sean White, you got him in your back pocket. You could have gone down at the 30-yard line last week with about 2 seconds left, and and that's a chip shot. A 37-yard field goal is a chip shot for Sean White to win that football game. Instead, he tries to go for the touchdown, tackled inside the 10. Time runs out. It goes to overtime, and the rest is history. Winnipeg wins in overtime. I mean, that's a tough one. And now you got to recover from that, knowing that your chance to win the West is probably dashed. Go west to east and take on this Ticats team. You're right. I don't want BC. Do I trust Hamilton enough is the question. The one element is, and I thought about this too, is that Hamilton embarrassed BC at home earlier this year in BC, but I don't know if that matters. I don't know if that can that desire to get back at Hamilton can overcome a potential malaise we might see from the Lions tonight, after losing that game against Winnipeg. So I definitely lean Hamilton. What I did do is I bet it from a different angle here, and I'm going to go with this as the official play. I think I like the team total more than I like the plus points. I still got a little bit of an issue for me personally with this defense against a good offense. Now the question is, how much of that offense are we going to see for BC tonight? Will they play the full game? Vernon Adams, Rhymes and Whitehead, and McGinnis and Katoy and Hatcher and all the great receivers they have. To me, Smoke Mizell being out is a non-issue. It's not an issue. They don't run the football anyway, the BC Lions. So it's not a big deal that he's out. Our defense still against good offenses is kind of weak, and it's been that way all year. I mean, Toronto puts 29 and 41 up against us. Winnipeg's put up big numbers against us. So I do worry a little bit from that standpoint. But I like Hamilton's team total is the way I'm going to go about it here. I think it's the safer bet. I don't really want to totally bank on this Hamilton defense here against a really good offense, which they have had issues with all season long. But on the offensive side of the equation, we got Bo Levi Mitchell, as you mentioned, making his first start of the year. It's hard to believe this is his actual first regular season home start. That's how long it has been. All his appearances this year, when he hasn't been injured, have been on the road. So it's hard to believe. But yeah, this is going to be his first home start. From what I've heard, and I haven't heard, but last week we saw Bo play one quarter, and then Matthew Schultz got the rest of the game. I think tonight it's going to be more of a 50-50 split. I think they're going to try to extend Bo Levi Mitchell for the first half. I think he's going to play the first half. I don't know that. I haven't heard that, but it's just something I'm surmising, something I'm guessing. I think they're going to extend him. I think the plan is to gradually increase his playing time game by game before the playoffs get here. They're gradually easing him in. One quarter last week, I could see, especially with this being the final home game, him playing a whole first half tonight. And then you see Matthew Schultz in the second half of this game. If I had to put an estimate to it or a guess, that's what I think is going to happen. Mitchell first half, Schultz second half. I think that's what we're going to see tonight. Both guys can play, though, and both guys played outstanding last week against Saskatchewan. But they're playing a Saskatchewan team. We'll get to them in a second, falling apart at the seams. Defense has completely crumbled for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. So great performance. Loved what I saw. Love that they're using James Butler. But I do think this is going to be a tougher opponent, even if that opponent is deflated, which is the great wild card in this game. How much is BC invested into this game? We really won't know, until this game starts. But I do like that team total. Hamilton has scored 22 or more points in 6 of their last 7 games. 22 or more points in 6 of their last 7 games. Their team total is 22.5 right now. So there's a very good chance, based on that recent track record, with their offense playing better in recent games, with Bo and Matt both healthy, that they can get to that number. And let's not forget as well, BC's defense hasn't been the same. 34 allowed to Winnipeg, 26 to Saskatchewan, 29 to Edmonton, 37 allowed to Ottawa. That's just in the last 4 games. 25 allowed to Montreal, 30 allowed in the first meeting to Hamilton, 34 before that against Saskatchewan. I mean, this team total for the Ticats, 22.5. When is the last time BC's given up 22 or fewer points? It's been a long time, a very long time. So I really like the team total. I prefer it to plus the points. Hamilton team total over 22.5, minus 120 at Pinnacle.
I love it. This gave me more confidence in this. I also think that Hamilton wants to force Montreal to try tomorrow night. I think that's part of the script here. They don't want them to not try. I think they're on the road in Edmonton. Make them work, and I think the Lions don't care. In fact, I think we'll see Dominique in there. I don't even know. I wouldn't play Vernon. I don't think Vernon plays the second half. And also to even go further, I think that if BC gets up, we live bet Hamilton, immediately, and multiple times if that's the case.
Yeah.
So this is just giving me more confidence. Tiger Cats plus 3.5 for me tonight. Final home game possibly of the season. And Bobano on the Ticats team total over 22.5 at -1.
See, I don't want to be dealing with, like, let's say, because the BC offense is still something to be feared, especially for a team like Hamilton that struggled to stop the best offenses this year. So if I bet the team total, let's say this game's 27-24 Hamilton, or 27-24 BC, in the fourth quarter, I've already cashed my ticket. I've already won with the team total. I don't want to worry and stress and fret about end game situations and, a last drive to either win or lose that plus 3.5. If I were to take that with Hamilton, I lean that way for sure. I just thought the team total was the better route to take.
I hear you. But if we see Dominique Davis in there, we'll just be laughing, pointing and laughing. and there is a chance too that if the Lions don't show up at all, which is a legitimate possibility, that the Ticats won't even need to score 23 points to win this game.
Yeah.
So, but I hear your look there. I get it. Max on record says CFL or NCAA football easier to capture me. It's two things, and they're so different from each other. The 9 teams makes it easier to really understand who these teams are, but the amount of options we have in college football, how you can, like what I've been doing with my spots in college football is you sit there with 60 games, you whittle it down to 12, you pick your top 6 kind of thing. It's a real wonderful thing. So it's so different, but I believe that they're both easier than the NFL. Let's move on to the next spot on the board here. There's Trot Wham in the house. Nice to see you, Wham Bam. And Slide says, which is why we can't bet the Owls until Hamilton game is over. You're absolutely right. And we'll get into that. Absolutely. We'll get into that. 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Next up, Saskatchewan Roughriders 6-10, 2-6 on the road at the Calgary Stampeders 4-11, 2-5 at home at McMahon Stadium in Calgary, Alberta. 50 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, and there's wind 15 miles per hour. Let's get into the line history here for this one. First off, to the total, because I know that that's a spot where Bobano is going to want to attack with how bad the Roughriders defense has looked. This opened up at 48.5 and has moved to 49. From a spread perspective here, we have the Stamps sitting at -3.5, same as what the Lions are on the road. This opened up at -3 and it's now at -3.5. It's just constantly gone in the Calgary Stampeders direction here. The brothers, Craig and Dave Dickinson, Dave being one of the most important football players in BC Lions, franchise history, are probably coaching against each other for the last time. I mean, there's a real legitimate possibilities that both are fired in the offseason. The Stamps are on the verge of missing the playoffs for the first time since 2004.
Not so sure about Dave. Craig for sure. Craig's gone if like they've collapsed and they don't make the playoffs. Hell, if they even just barely survive and get into the playoffs and then get crushed, he's probably still gone.
It's amazing. Yeah. I think that Dave has actually done worse because he had more to work with, a lot more to work with personally. Yeah. And some of the decisions to focus on the run game at times this year was laughable. Like you can't. He's trying to coach from 25 years ago. It feels like when he was a player, and it's just but we'll see. The Riders come in 4 points up on Calgary for that final playoff spot here. Stampeders 4-11 is absolutely shocking. Like I cannot believe it. So they're 4.5 points up. 4 points up on Calgary for the final playoff spot. And this game also is going to decide the season series. Roughriders coming off that ugly 38-13 loss at home to the Tigers that we just spoke of. 5-game losing streak. It's just like last year. They completely fell apart last year. Lost 7 straight. Dave Dickinson said that he was embarrassed. He said that this is a low point in his time here. That he's shocked by it. Craig Dickinson said all this. Will that change anything? Well, Craig, we'll see what Bobano thinks of the spot here. The Ticats put up 346 yards of offense in the first half. I mean, these guys weren't even trying. The final total was 546 yards to 307. for Hamilton over Saskatchewan. Dolagala does not look good. And then Mason Fine came in and probably looked worse. I mean, they're in a real tough spot. Jamal Morrow is the only bright spot. And as Bobano has been cashing them, I hope you guys have too. The over is now cashed in 9 straight games for Saskatchewan. They're allowing 31 points per game. The Stampeders coming off their bye week. They were last seen in a 22-15 loss at Hamilton in week 17. The opposite for the Stamps. They've been playing to unders throughout the year. Jake Myers being a disappointment, just an absolute disappointment. Finally, his first season as a clear number one, and he does very little. And the Stamps are bad against the run. If from an X's and O's spot, you would think, oh, the Roughriders, Jamal Morrow, they'll pound the rock, they'll run, and this game will go over. But game will go under. But if you've watched the Roughriders play, you want to bet an under with this horrible defense? Take it away for us here, Bobano. Reggie Beggleton, doubtful. And so same with Tommy Lee Lewis for wide receivers. We know that Malik Henry is already out. So Jalen Philpott already out. They're getting low here. And then they have, Bryce Bell and Hugh Thornton, offensive tackles, out. That's on the Calgary side of things. So that's probably part of the reason why they're, skewing to unders. Take it away for us here, Bobano. Rough Rider Stamps.
Yeah, this is one where, look, you're right. You just said it. 9 straight Saskatchewan games over. The total, I think I've been on most of them, if not like really from the end of August. I think I've been on every one of these with the with the Saskatchewan overs. I mean, it's just been like clockwork. It's really amazing how this defense has just completely and utterly been just completely fallen off. Other than they have one really good defensive lineman, well, 2, I guess, with Robertson when he has his head on straight and Lanier, and they don't have much other than that. The linebacking core is terrible here. The secondary, I don't know what's happened to the secondary when you got guys like Nick Marshall in that secondary that have been good players, but he's not having a good year. And that whole secondary has really been picked apart. Any good passing attack has just done serious damage against Saskatchewan. But the one fear here is, can this very putrid, anemic Calgary offense do that? I mean, Calgary scored 11 and 15 points in the last 2 games. With Jake Mayer leading them at quarterback. Not good. I mean, so it's been a tough offense to trust. So, you got a defense I don't trust. You got kind of an offense I don't trust on the other side. So something has to give here. But at this point, when you see a team that's cashed 9 straight overs, you've probably been on 7 or 8 of them like I have. You don't jump off. You go back to it. And that is what I'm doing here. I don't love this over I loved the Saskatchewan over last week, 2 weeks ago. Game before that. This one I'm a little bit more hesitant on, but I'm going to go ahead with it for an official play here. Over 48.5, minus 110 at Bet Rivers. We will lock that in for this game. I almost took Calgary because I think Saskatchewan is unbackable right now. They're falling apart. I mean, they got blown out in a spot where they honored George Reed, this legendary Saskatchewan running back, at home last week. All that emotion, that wonderful ceremony and tribute to him, and that's the way you play against a Hamilton team that never wins in Saskatchewan. Think about that. We never win in Saskatchewan until last week when we went there and we destroyed the Riders. That is a red flag if I've ever seen one, that this team is just, you can't back them. You take Calgary or nothing, but I don't love the idea of laying more than 3. The last time I trusted Calgary, I'll never forget it. And that's why I'm not pulling the trigger on Calgary. I'll never forget how they totally shit the bed in a spot similar to this with their backs against, and they have to win tonight. If they lose, they're out tonight, Calgary. It's a must. It truly is a must win for them, or their playoff hopes are over. And even if they do win, there's still work to be done to overtake Saskatchewan, but I'll never forget the way they played the last time off a bye week at home in a game that I thought they'd be fired up for to keep their season playoff hopes alive against Montreal. I'll never forget how bad they were. They were inept. They were not prepared. That's on Dave Dickinson. Jake Mayer was terrible in that game, and I was livid that they could play that bad against a up and down Montreal team off a bye week, needing wins like they needed them, and they completely laid an egg. I worry about that again. I don't trust them after that. I saw that. I don't trust them. I can't take Saskatchewan. They might be even worse right now, but I've seen enough of Calgary. I've seen enough. I can't trust them, even though this spot screams take the Stampeders. So I'm just sticking to the over here in this game.
Yeah, I don't want to even be involved in this football game. You talk about the George Reed ceremony. Do you see what the Argos did for the 150th anniversary, where Keeb Rocket, Ishmael, and all those guys? They didn't have a great first half, but they still showed out. dominated that football game. You know, it's just two different.
There's something going on in
worlds.
Saskatchewan. It ain't good. It ain't good. Yeah.
All right. I love this. Ronnie Imbergia and Justin McElvey. This is what I there's probably nothing that we do that I like more, truly. That when we have low baggers in the chat realizing they live 15 minutes away from each other, there's a casino right there. Let's meet at the sports book and have a drink. When you guys meet each other, it's as if you've known each other for 20 years. That's what it's like when we all meet. So I love seeing Justin McElvey, Ronnie Imbergia meeting up at Bet Rivers. It's music to my ear. It makes me so happy. Bobano on the over 48.5. I don't want to be involved with this. I don't want to be involved in this, especially if we have a chance at having Stanford and Colorado action, which I don't right now. But I mean, like, do I want to watch this, garbage fire tonight? I don't, and especially with my lack.
It is a big game, I will say that. But yeah, it's really to get in the playoffs, to get ambushed by BC probably in the West semifinal. That's what this is.
Let's roll on to Saturday Canadian football here. Dave Redling, I didn't use it properly with the vividness bias of Game 1 last year against the Oilers, but Rick Tocchet is so much different than Gabby Boudreau that you couldn't find two more different coaches. And Rick Tocchet demands accountability physically. This Canucks team came in better shape than any Canucks team in the history of our franchise. So expect them to be good early. I don't know if you want to bet them on Saturday in Edmonton after beating them 8-1, but no, I don't. They'll be better with Tocchet. Yes, they'll be better. They'll be tighter. The shorthanded will improve. Their defense will improve. But I'm not a believer here with them. But let's roll on. We move on to Saturday, October 14th, 4 p.m. Eastern. So this is a key for you guys who are looking for extra action. If Hamilton is beating BC by, what would you say, 2 scores, Bobano, early in the second half?
Yeah.
Bet Edmonton. Bet them then. So this is an important capping spot here. And Slatsy touched on it. So if Hamilton's losing by 2 scores. Sorry, what am I saying? Yeah. If Hamilton loses, so it's that's how it works. So if Hamilton wins, then bet Edmonton, and if Hamilton's losing, then this game is just trash. But that's important though. If Hamilton needs to win to force Montreal to try. Sorry, I keep screwing this up. I'm lack of sleep. Let me do this again. Just get sorry. If Hamilton beats BC, Montreal has to try. There we go. Montreal has to try. So if Hamilton is losing, then bet Edmonton. There we go. If Hamilton is losing by 2 scores and you don't think maybe you should wait just because Hamilton has a lot, I think, with the last home game and stuff like that. Maybe you should wait. But that's the key. That's the situation. Sorry, I screwed that up in my head there. But Montreal will only need to try in this football game. And if they try, they'll smash Edmonton. Because they've been dominating bad teams all year. They've been destroyed. It's been the best bet all year. If Montreal's not playing BC, Winnipeg, or Toronto, is to bet them. So there we go. Sorry, I screwed that up a little bit. Let's get into the line history here for Montreal, Edmonton, and it's a mess here. It's a mess. You have to have capped this. Like for me, I think that we should probably bet Montreal right now, but I don't want to put too much emphasis on this Hamilton game for me. But Hamilton is sitting here at -2 at -117. What do you think that number goes to, Bobano, if Hamilton wins?
If Hamilton wins, it'll probably Montreal close 3. I think it'll go right up to 3, maybe even higher. But
I think higher. Sure. I think we'll see 4.5s.
Yeah.
I think it'll move up. I think 4.5s will get juiced. Yeah. Honestly, would you be surprised if there was a 5? I mean, I wouldn't.
I totally wouldn't, but I don't know if it'll get that far because there's a lot of people that bet Edmonton throughout the season in the CFL too. Let's not forget that Edmonton's been a darling in the betting markets. Like money comes in on Edmonton, it seems, every game they play, especially since Trey Ford took over. And yeah, it's the funniest thing with Montreal. 0-7 against Toronto, BC, and Winnipeg. 9-0 against everybody else this year. That's Montreal, and that's basically it tells you exactly what kind of team they are. They're a good team, but they're not an elite team. That's where Montreal is, that they're 9-0 against every team besides BC, Toronto, and Winnipeg.
So if I think that Hamilton is going to win the football game,
you bet Montreal now. Clearly,
you got to bet, and I don't know if I think I want to watch it.
Yeah.
So I think so. That's my whole plan, and this will be a gift. This will be an absolute gift. This will make you money. If you think that Hamilton's going to take care of business, there's no way this stays under 3 if Montreal's trying against the Elks. So keep that all in mind. Tonight, the Hamilton game is on at 7 p.m. And if Hamilton's going to win, we're all going to make money off of Montreal. What up, Rob? So here we go. Let's break this down here. I got to tighten this up and speed this up a little bit. This total is sitting at 47.5 right now. 47.5. And again, it's not moved because there's no reason to put together your game script until you know what the hell happens in the Hamilton game. Montreal's heading to the playoffs 4 straight season, and they want home field advantage. And here we go. So the Alouettes come in off the dominant performance, 29-3 over the Redblacks. They held Ottawa to 10 first downs. We won't need to talk about Bob Dice soon. He's going to be relieved of his duties. Montreal has 3 defensive touchdowns the last 2 games. I mean, their defense looks really strong against weak opponents. Fajardo, 28-32. I mean, he played so well, so clean. Did throw a pick, but still only missed 4 opportunities. Threw for 272 yards. And here's another interesting thing. Do you know how long is David Cote out for?
He's out for this game, it looks like. It's week to week right now.
It's week to week. So Jose Maltos came in. He was 2 for 4 on field goals, 2 rouges. Like that is a problem here. They need Cote back for the playoffs. Elks coming off that ugly 35-12 loss. I mean, I don't know what the positives you can say for the Elks here. They look pretty good in the first half, but we can explain why that's happening for Toronto. Emmanuel Arsenault caught 4 passes for 50 yards. His consecutive catch streak ties him with Ben Cahoon for the longest, 4th longest in CFL history, 144. But Trey Ford, he's just getting beaten up back there. 15-17 for 180 yards and a touchdown. And the Edmonton defense can't be trusted. I don't know what and I don't know how to be positive about the Elks here. They started turning it around, and then that was just a horrific performance here at BMO Field. So take it away for us here, Bobano. We got to tighten it up a bit. Alouettes, Elks.
Yeah, I didn't even wait around. I took Montreal here, money line in this game at minus. Let me see what the best price. It might have moved already a little bit because I got minus 125. Betway still has minus 125. Good. So we'll put that in right now. Look. Obviously, if Hamilton loses tonight, Montreal clinches second in the East. Motivation becomes a question. I still think you're going to see the starters for Montreal in this game, at least for a half, if not longer. Even if Hamilton, we'll see. But this is not just about, we have to worry about Montreal if Hamilton loses tonight, but whether they show up for this game. But I think Edmonton's kind of running out of gas, running on fumes. That's part of the reason why I'm sticking with Montreal here and why I'm okay with locking them in now. You look at these last 2 games, and the offense is kind of, it's come to a halt a little bit, especially the last game, 12 points. Trey has struggled a little bit more. He's been throwing more interceptions. He threw a pick 6, and the defense has just been terrible. Again for Edmonton. And they got a lot of injuries on defense too. And Niles Morgan, who I think is their leading tackler, is out again for the Elks in this game. So, this is a defense that's given up, 72 points in the last 2 games. So they're not getting stops on that side of the football. They just got officially eliminated from the playoffs. They had that horrible start. They got that spark from Trey Ford. They got on a little bit of a run. They started to win a few games. They got themselves back into the race, and then only to get officially knocked out last week. I've got a big question mark what we're going to get from Edmonton down the stretch. It's been a trying season, and they look like a team on fumes last week in that loss to the Argos. Now, granted, the Argos are good, but still, with the Argos, kind of going through the paces until the playoffs get here, shouldn't be beaten up and destroyed like that, like Edmonton was. So I've got some real concerns about Edmonton. Again, there's going to be concerns possibly about Montreal if Hamilton loses tonight and they clinch second in the East. But I think I'm going to stick with this bet, regardless of the Ticat game tonight. I think Montreal can go in there and win this game. Like I said, this is not just about, okay, we get off this bet if Hamilton loses tonight. I think I would stick with it because I've got concerns about where Edmonton's head is at. It's been a trying, like I said, trying season, ups and downs, the brutal start where they were winless. And to me, they look like a team that's not only battling a lot of injuries on defense, but they're running out of gas right now. So Montreal for now. Maybe I do get off it. We'll see. But I'm going to lock them in now. Montreal minus 125.
You got it. Alouettes minus 125. If BC wins, I'm going to immediately bet the Elks money line personally. So this is, I'm telling you, in my belief, and you, Bobano could be right because the Alouettes are a much better team than the Elks, but Chris Jones will demand, accountability at home, even though there'll be 5,000 fans there. They've already decided to shut down the whole upper level for all of 2024. But this is all about this game at 7 p.m. And I'm telling you, this is one of those gifts where if you focus on what's going on the Friday and get in early, you're going to take advantage. This is, it looks like these games don't matter, but they will make money off of them. So I'm going to wait. And make a decision at this tonight. And I will tweet it out for anyone following there. So Bobano on the Alouettes minus 125. And for you, Bobano, I truly hope Hamilton wins. Then, you'll cash your team total over. I'll cash my plus 3.5, and then you'll destroy the line move.
That's the hope. Yeah. That's the hope. Yeah.
Final game on the CFL before we get into the 2 NHL games, and then our focus will be college football. 7 p.m. Eastern, the Ottawa Redblacks 4-12, 1-7 on the road at the Toronto Argonauts 13-2, 8-0 at home at BMO Field in Toronto, Ontario. 53 Fahrenheit, cloudy, 12 miles per hour. Let's get right into the line history here for this one. Oh, shoot. Sorry, I got to move over to Saturday here. And, why is it not even showing me? Huh?
It's because we don't know who's playing for Toronto.
And they're just not even giving us a line at all.
Yeah.
Okay. They're not even giving us a line at all. Wow. I mean,
it's okay. I don't plan on betting this game at all. There's no case I can make for Ottawa. Ottawa's, I don't want to say the quit word, but pretty damn close to quitting. And that's a shame. I'm sad to see that. Bob Dice deserves better than that. His players they've not shown up in those 2 games against Montreal back to back. They got blasted in both of them. The offense is a disaster. Dustin Crum is struggling, and they went to Arbuckle. He did nothing, which is no surprise. That guy's never been really that good since he's been in Ottawa. I don't want Ottawa. I will not be on Ottawa in this game. They look like they want the season over with. Let's get it over with. We're done. We're tapping out.
That makes sense here, but for me, I've got the script here that I think makes most sense. Chad Kelly did not look good last week. And they're all talking about it. Dinwiddie says, he's struggling. You could tell he had a week off. And so Dinwiddie said, quote unquote, so I've got to see how I'm going to manage that moving forward. We've got to get him his reps to make sure he's playing good football. Yeah. So this is Argo's first half if the line is okay. Not only that, this is Argo's first quarter. Yeah. Now we got to see what the line is, but that says it all right there. What Dinwiddie said, I mean, that's all you need for the cap is that Chad, they want to make sure that Chad Kelly's right. They're 8-0 at home. One win came to Halifax, but look, Crum and Arbuckle, it's atrocity, man. They had 10 first downs. They look horrible. So if Chad Kelly wants to show that he's right after hearing what his coach said about him, Chad Kelly will do that right away. So this is Argo's first quarter. If the line's reasonable and first half, it might not be reasonable. We'll see. Might not be reasonable. So here we go. That's our CFL breakdowns here. I'm on the Tiger Cats plus 3.5. Bobano's on the Tiger Cats team total over 22.5. Then Bobano's on the over 48.5. And the Bobano's on the Alouettes at minus 125, which could work out to be a perfect play if everything goes the way we think it will. Lions win and Ticats cover, and that won't work. We need sorry 3 hours sleep's killing me here. I keep screwing this up. We need the Alouettes to try. Sorry, we need Hamilton to win, which is what I think will happen. God, what's wrong with me? Keep screwing this up there. We need Hamilton to win so that the Alouettes are cheap, very cheap. Okay, sorry.
We need everything to go to plan. That's right.
Yeah, and then you'll crush that. You'll crush that. So I'm just gonna say it one more time. So because I've screwed it up so many times. The game tonight's at 7 p.m. We're on the Ticats. If the Ticats win and look like they're going to win, then we immediately bet Oh, shit. Sorry. Then we immediately bet the Alouettes. And if the Lions win, then we immediately bet the Elks money line. Okay, there we go. Jesus, what the hell's wrong with me? All right, let's move into hockey. We've had and I'm surprised that it's felt both nights like I was going to sweep the board. But I'll take the spot that we're in right now. Average line is plus 113 through 9 bets. And, it's all looking good. The breakdowns, I love the first week of 2 of the season. If I can stay away from totals, totals have hurt me a little bit. But, you watch these player moves all off season. You kind of just go with your gut here, and our guts being destroying. So Predators and Wild, I mean, those were as easy as bets get. And then we were fortunate to push the Blues first period and the Sharks first period. So we are right now 5-4, a plus 2.17 units ROI, plus 24.11%, average line plus 113. And this is a kind of a tricky spot here. We start at 7 p.m. Eastern, Arizona. Oh, sorry. Let me move over here. And we do not have we only have Pitt, Washington. The number 5 did not load. So I'll just pull this off here. But we are now discussing Arizona Coyotes at New Jersey Devils, Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. We have Karel Vejmelka versus Akira Schmid, 2 fifth-round draft picks that I think have real legitimate chances to shine in the NHL over the next 5 or so seasons. I like both of them. Watching Vanacek have the spectacular regular season unfold in the playoffs, I don't know if he's the guy. And I don't know if Akira Schmid is the guy, but I would have more hope with him long term. He is 9-5-2 last year in the regular season, 2.13 goals against average, 922 save percentage. Devils come in off that 4-3 win in their home opener over the Wings. Jack Hughes scored twice, and Siegenthaler, who I questioned whether he would be, how capable he was to be a top 2 defenseman on that team, had 3 assists and looked great. And they're chanting MVP for Hughes. I mean, it's exciting stuff. And Lindy Ruff gets the multi-year contract extension. Everybody in the NHL loves Lindy. So there's a good feeling there in New Jersey, and I got there plus 900 to win the Stanley Cup. That's the only future bet I made for them. And they are facing the Arizona Coyotes. So I picked Barrett Hayton in the 13th round of my hockey pool. A lot of love for Logan Cooley. He was picked much earlier, probably too early, in my belief. You have Clayton Keller coming off a really dynamic season, and that line of Keller, Hayton, and Schmaltz could be good. You have Alexander Kerfoot, who's going to love the opportunity to be on the second line with Logan Cooley and Jason Zucker there. And, Michelli and Lawson Krause. I even thought about drafting Lawson Krause. I imagine that he'll move up at some point. And Nick Bukestad, who's, an accountable 6'6" center. I mean, he plays like he's 5'10". And you have Dumba coming in to help solidify this defense. And Troy Stetcher was good at times last year with J.J. Moser and Juuso Valimaki. So I don't know what to do with the Coyotes. Clearly, they were a great bet last year because they were so, the expectations were so minimal for them. But the expectations have risen, and that's kind of dangerous. The Devils open up on the second half of a back-to-back at minus 255. They're down to minus 237. And from a total side of things here, we're sitting at 6.5. And the 6.5 is pretty heavily juiced to the over. So there's been an 18-cent move to the over. What I find much, much easier in Euro Sports Bets, the dog, I forget what the DOT is, dog play of the day, basically. Arizona Coyotes plus 208 says, hopefully won't lose this one in a shootout like
dog
they have.
Dog of the day, probably. Yeah, DOT.
Dog of the day. Thank you, dog of the day. So for me, and I do well early in NHL seasons, for me, it's always been this way. It's not about who I want to bet on. It's about who I want to bet against. I don't feel like the confidence is there for me knowing which teams are going to be good. But I do have confidence saying which teams are going to come out of the block slowly. And I try to stay off of totals as much as I can, even though, there are some that are very appealing. So that's just the way I do it. And nothing's being illuminated here, especially because the Pens and Caps are playing each other, 2 teams I don't like. So take it away for us here, Bobano, Coyotes, Devils, Prudential Center.
Yeah, this to me might be a spot where Arizona's live potentially, and I have some higher hopes this year for the Arizona Coyotes. I love the blend that they've got. They're going to be a very competitive, tougher out this year. Hell, there were times last year they were a tough out, but they've got just the perfect mix up front. You've got your youngsters like Clayton Keller and Barrett Hayton and Logan Cooley, who's got the chance to be a dark horse, you know, Calder Cup contender, although Connor Bedard, barring an injury, is probably going to win it. And then they've got a nice mix of veterans. You had Alex Kerfoot, you had Jason Zucker, Nick Bukestad is back. And you've got now four. And when I look at the four lines, you've got Michelli, Bukestad, Krause, your third line, Kerfoot, Cooley, Zucker, your second line, Schmaltz, Hayton, Keller, your top line, Liam O'Brien, Jack McBain, not a bad player last year for them, and Michael Carcone. So that's all of a sudden a much deeper four-line group now for the Arizona Coyotes this season. And then on the blue line this year, that's probably where the bigger questions are. But you brought in Sean Dursey to insulate that blue line from the Kings, who was very solid there. Matt Dumba, veteran presence from the Minnesota Wild. So they actually did bolster the blue line a little bit. Are there question marks about Giannis Moser now as a number one or top pair defenseman? Yeah, is he ready for it? We don't know. That's the big question mark for them, but we'll find out. Valimaki, I thought, played pretty solid for them. Josh Brown rounding out the defense, and Troy Stetcher, is journeyman defenseman. That's what he is, but he's got experience. It's definitely something I think that can help this Coyotes team. And then you've got their goaltending with Karel Vejmelka. Was very, very good last year for the most part. He had some bad games too, but more often than not was solid. And even Connor Ingram, from what I saw, who's the backup, had a pretty good preseason this year. We'll see if he can keep that going. They catch New Jersey on a back-to-back. Now, New Jersey is back-to-back, but at home with no travel. So it's not that bad of a back-to-back situation after beating Detroit 4-3 last night. We know how great New Jersey is. Like they probably have one of, if not the best and deepest forward group. When you look at all four lines, it's outstanding what they've got. The blue line actually looks like I was impressed with Siegenthaler last night. Kevin Ball, everyone was talking about how much he's improved this year. And that's why a lot of people say, don't be so sure to judge this blue line as being the weak link. Dougie Hamilton, we know what he can do. He got the game winner last night. He's improved his defensive game. Like I said, Siegenthaler played well. Bala Marino looked solid. Luke Hughes, big-time defenseman of the future for them. Brendan Smith to give them a little physicality and sandpaper. That blue line might be better than you think, and I was worried about it a little coming into the season, but I like the way they played last night in that win against Detroit. And then, of course, you got the goaltending where Vanacek and Schmid, these two goalies, all they've got to do is be solid because they've got the offensive capabilities every single night for this New Jersey team. There's only 2 games on the card, but I know, I'm going to be on the show on Fridays, and for the most part, Fridays, we're going to get, as far as this game goes with Arizona and New Jersey, I'm going to, let me just see what the price is. I'm going to take a shot at this plus number, plus 212 at Pinnacle, Jimmy, with Arizona. Like, I think you're going to be seeing this team be able to cash some of these tickets in these price ranges. Again, New Jersey got the satisfying home opener win last night. We have only seen one instance of this year where we've seen a team on a back-to-back playing a team that hasn't played yet, and that was Chicago and Boston on Wednesday night. It was a back-to-back for Chicago. Boston was playing their first game. Boston won. I'm not saying that means Arizona's going to win tonight, but I just think this price it's a price I'm willing to take a shot here. Plus 212 at Pinnacle with Arizona. I'm also on over 6.5, minus 110 in this game at DraftKings. And then as far as player props go, I'm going to go with a couple shots on goal props. Clayton Keller for Arizona, over 2.5 shots on goal, minus 114 at Bet Rivers. He is definitely someone that is, especially down the stretch last year, very high volume as far as shots on goal are concerned. I think he's got an excellent chance to go over that prop. And then a couple on the New Jersey side as well. Let me see what the Jack Hughes shots on goal prop is. They adjusted it to 4.5. Damn it. It was 3.5 at small juice last night, and he went over it. But at 4.5, I'm a little more reluctant to take that shots on goal prop. Let's put because he had 2 goals last night, and he was buzzing. He was all over the ice. He was absolutely terrific. And we'll pivot away from Jack Hughes shots on goal, and we will go with Jack Hughes goal scorer prop instead at plus 115 at FanDuel for Jack Hughes anytime goal scorer. Because look, he could have had 3 or 4 last night. I mean, that is how impressive he was in that game. And I think he's going to be a guy that's going to be just have this huge. He might even hit 100 points this year. No joke here for the New Jersey Devils as well this year. So that's what we're going to look at here in this game. The Keller shot prop, Hughes anytime goal score, Arizona plus 212 and over 6.5.
I like it. Locked in here. I've got them all written down. Mike M saying New Jersey went 9-2 last season with no rest, back to back.
Yeah, they were good in this spot. Yep. This is not so much that I don't trust. It's not so much the spot, actually. People, I want to make that clear. This is not me betting Arizona because they're rested and New Jersey played last night. This is me betting an Arizona team because I want them at this price. I want to take them at this price because I think they've got the potential to maybe not just be a little bit better than last year. They might be a lot better than last year, Arizona. I like this roster. I do, especially up front.
Yeah, it's so much of it to me is on Hayton, but I really believe in him. I know that Cooley's getting all the love, but for me, it's Barrett that it kind of revolves around at this point in Cooley's career. I picked Mitch Marner over Jack Hughes in the hockey pool just because of the shoulder injuries with Hughes, and that was the final thing. But I'm nervous about that. Could end up costing me a back-to-back champ with 13 other teams, and I want to make it 3 in a row. No one's ever done that before. Let's move on. Bobano's on the Coyotes, plus 212, the over 6.5. Clayton Keller over 2.5 shots, and Hughes anytime goal score. We're going to move on to the next spot, and then it's all college football for us. But we move on to Pittsburgh Penguins, Washington Capitals, once must-see TV. Now, it's a old folks' home out there. It's a senior center out there. And I do not think that Kyle Dubas is the right guy for the Penguins job. I really don't. A general manager who manages like a fan, brings on Joe Thornton and Wayne Simmons. Why? Because he's my age. And we love Joe Thornton and Wayne Simmons. And he still has these biases in his head. Now he's got the oldest team in the NHL, and he loves it. He brings in Carlson. I mean, I think there's going to be a mess here in Pittsburgh this year. But, I'd like to play them on NHL 24. Christian Yari, 24-13-7, 2.90 goals against average, 909 save percentage last year. I don't know if he's the guy. We've never known if he was the guy. Darcy Kemper on the other side, I truly believe he's not a number one guy at this point in his career, but he was better than I thought he would be last year. But he wasn't good. 2.85 goals against average, 909 save percentage. You can blame the defense in front of him, and that's fair. Sammy Comer looking at the draw, plus 338. Darren Turner looking at Pittsburgh money line. The Pens couldn't hold on to a 2-1 lead heading into the third period in their first game of the season against, a bottom 5 team in the season, in the league. So get used to that. Their defense not going to be able to hold the fort. And look, I love Brian Rust, and there's pieces to the puzzle. I think Crosby's a phenomenal player and the best plugger in the history of the sport, but let's take a look at this lineup very quickly here. Crosby, Rust, and Gensel. I mean, that's a strong first line. And you bring in Riley Smith, Raquel, and Malkin. I mean, this team should be able to score, right? It should be. But this defense, I mean, they need a, they need a stay-at-home shutdown. They need a Parayko. They don't need an Erik Karlsson. So I just don't trust the defense at all. But the power play is going to be very, very fun to watch. When we go over to Washington, we fed them with aplomb last year. We had their under-season win total. They had not to make the playoffs. We had all that. But now the lines have adjusted. This is a very old hockey team. Thank God Tom Wilson is healthy to start the year. Anthony Mantha is now a fourth-line winger. I mean, he's got to step up from that. And Sonny Milano. I mean, they have some pieces that should be able to step up. But Oshie, Backstrom, and Ovechkin, I mean, it's 2023-24 now. Kuznetsov wanted out and wasn't given the trade. And now you have a healthy John Carlson, which will help a lot. But this is just, in my estimation, it's just a bad hockey team. Now they're going to fill up every barn across North America because everyone's looking for Ovechkin to score goals. And the same thing will happen, all year. So they'll be, and then here, first game of the year that for the Caps, they'll be good to go. I just don't want them. This total is at 6.5 minus 110 to the over. I used to always bet unders in this spot when these two teams play each other. I have no interest in betting an under with this Pens defense. And then minus 119 are the road favorite Pittsburgh Penguins right now. They open up minus 116. I don't find anything appealing here. Earl Sports Bet says Pittsburgh was bad defensively and added a glorified forward in Carlson. Team total overs against them until further notice. Well, let's hear what our guy Bobano has to say here. So take it away. Oh, here, look at this. It says, I'm not tainting the gift record with props, but I crushed NHL props last year in my first year taking it seriously. He says Riley Smith is the cheapest price on the second line, which was by far their best line. 17 shot attempts, more ice time than the Crosby line. Expect the same today against a weak second defensive unit for Washington, says our guy TJ. Take it away for us here, Bobano. Pens, Caps.
Yeah, I like the Riley Smith addition for sure. As far as the Pittsburgh Penguins go, Pittsburgh should be able to score goals. I'm actually shocked that they couldn't get anything going against Chicago, although Peter Mrazek played really well. I think it's one of the better games Peter Mrazek's played in quite some time for Chicago in that first game of the season. This is a team that, in theory, when you look at the Pittsburgh Penguins forward group, you look at it and say they should be able to score goals. I mean, that's just, they should be able to, especially with a healthy Jake Gensel. Crosby and Rust is a great top line with them. Smith, Malkin, and Raquel, good second line. Hey, they've even got guys on the third and the fourth line that can chip in offensively. You know, Matt Nieto and Achari and Carter and Jansen Harkins from Winnipeg and Lars Eller. I mean, they've got guys even on the bottom six that are capable of finding the back of the net here in this game for the Pittsburgh Penguins. The defense I don't trust. Now, I know that they gave up an empty net goal, but again, and they gave up a lot of shots to Chicago as well. And this was a Chicago team that, other than Bedard's goal, they didn't really generate much against Boston the very next night. And they generated a lot of chances and scoring opportunities against Pittsburgh. I've got big questions about that blue line for the Pittsburgh Penguins. There is no question about that. When you look at Pittsburgh coming into this year and that blue line, I see one above average defender, and that's Pettersson. And Graves, I think, is above average too, but they're asking him to play top pair minutes, and that's a lot for a guy that's still very young. Letang's a below average defender. Great offensively, puck mover, but not the same defensively. Chad Ruido, Pierre-Olivier Joseph, they're middling defensemen. Carlson's great offensively, but can be a train wreck at sometimes in his own end. I think it's a defense I don't trust. Jari was actually not that bad against Chicago. I thought he played pretty well. We'll see if he can carry that over. He's going to have to be great because I don't think he's got a great blue line in front of him. Jari has been confirmed, by the way, to start. Washington on the flip side. Now, there are concerns about their offensive depth a little bit this year, I would say, because you got Ovechkin, Backstrom, Oshie, you got Kuznetsov, you've got Wilson, Dylan Strome, and then after that, there is, what are you going to get in the scoring department from Sonny Milano? They do have Matthew Phillips. Keep an eye on this kid. Okay, he used to be in the Calgary organization. They never gave him a fair shot there. Daryl Sutter refused to play that guy more last year, which is ridiculous. Probably part of the reason why Sutter's gone now. Maybe a clean slate and a new opportunity here in Washington gets Matthew Phillips does that, is a good goal scorer. The question is, can he prove it now at the NHL level? And then on the fourth line, you've got Mantha, who's been a disaster with Washington. Nick Dowd's actually someone that can chip in sometimes, and Beck Malenstein going to be the fourth line for Washington. But are some questions about their forward depth. Defense for them, Carlson healthy is definitely nice to see. And of course, after that, you got Rasmus Sandin played pretty well after they got him from Toronto. Nick Jensen, Lucas Johansson, Martin Fehervari, and Trevor Van Riemsdyk. There are some questions about depth there a little bit for Washington. There's a little bit of a drop-off after you get past Carlson, Sandin on that top pair. And Kemper and Net, who, look, last year was a struggle for him. He won a cup in Colorado, went to a little bit of a worse team last year and wasn't the same. So can he recapture some of that magic? That's going to end up being the question in this one. 5 of the last 7 meetings have gone over. That's where I'm going, Jimmy. Another over for me, over 6.5 here with the Penguins and Capitals. I don't want to lay a price with Pittsburgh. I don't trust Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh is kind of a bet against team for me right now, but I don't want to take Washington either. They're every bit the bet against team for me as Pittsburgh coming into this season. I wouldn't be shocked if both of these teams miss the playoffs. I know some people think Pittsburgh, because of getting Erik Karlsson, they're going to be a playoff team. I need to see it before I believe it. And I definitely don't think Washington will be a playoff team. I like the hire of Spencer Carberry. I really do. I think he's a good, smart, young head coach, but it's going to take him some time. I think for Washington, this is all about Alex Ovechkin's chase of the leading goal scorer in NHL history, trying to track down Wayne Gretzky's record. So, yeah, for me here, over 6.5, minus 105 at DraftKings.
You got it locked in. Going to be very happily staying off of this 2-game NHL card. Love the Saturday card. I thought about adding some of the spots to the show, but wanted to focus on college football here for the rest of it. And, of course, just going to stick to my fading the Panthers as we move
I'll be
forward.
on Winnipeg tomorrow. I will be, yeah.
It's just a wonderful opportunity for us. DC Capper said, if you have a $500 free bet in the hockey, what would your bet be? I would bet it on Saturday. Do you have to bet it today?
Yeah, that's the thing, yeah.
Because Saturday there's a ton of options. So let me know if you have that option, DC, because it's crucial. If you don't, then I would tail one of Bobano's spots because I don't want to be involved in these 2 hockey games. So let me know, DC. All right, let's move on to college football here. This is going to be a lot of fun. We have 3 big games tonight for Friday night. Let's move this over here. And we also have best bets here for Saturday. So we have best bets here for Saturday. Let's get right to work here. We start Friday, October 13th. I love Friday the 13th, 7 p.m. Eastern. Tulane Green Wave 4-1, 1-0 in the American at the Memphis Tigers, 4-1, 1-0 in the American. We're at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium in Memphis, Tennessee, 76 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 11 miles per hour. Let's get into the line history first here, and then the cash flow. From a line history standpoint, we are sitting with, the Pinnacle, with Tulane as 5-point favorites. 5-point favorites. They opened up at -3. They've been 4.5. They actually went up to 4 and then back down to 3.5. They were 3.5 for a while. They've been 4.5 for 3 days, and they moved to 5 this morning. So they're at 5 this morning. So a 2-point move to Tulane on the road. And from a total standpoint here, sorry, taking a second. Let's make sure this. Here we go. From a total standpoint, Pinnacle has dropped it to 54.5, while all the other books are hanging at 55. This opened up at 56.5, and it got down to 54 this morning. So it's come back up a half point, but it's gone down 2 points. We have a move to Tulane and a move to the under. It's interesting because only 23% of the tickets and 16% of the cash are on the Green Wave. That's telling. From a total standpoint, you have 26% of the tickets and 82% of the cash on the under. And this truly your take on the total. It correlates to your take on the side. And we'll discuss that here as we go. So last season, Tulane won the ACC, and part of that journey was beating Memphis at home 38-28. TJ got Tulane -3.5 on his card. North Ender on Tulane. Christopher Comatini looking at Memphis, and Darren Turner leaning towards Memphis. And Earl Sports is on Memphis money line. He says his numbers have this game at a pick'em. So Tulane comes in off his 3rd straight win, 35-23 at home over UAB as 22.5-point favorites. Junior quarterback Michael Pratt's been excellent this year. He wasn't under center for the loss. He's been clean. He's completing 75.4% of his passes. I remember everybody freaking out about what Bo Nix is doing over in Oregon, completing 80. I mean, this guy's right there, right behind him. 8 touchdowns, 1 interception. Now, Prince Pines is questionable to play here. And he's a big protector. He protects. He's a starting guard that protects Pratt. That would be a big loss, and it would really help this Memphis defense. Memphis bounced back from their 34-27 home loss at Missouri by defeating Boise State at home 35-32 as 3-point favorites. And they won despite Boise putting up 519 total yards. If you watch this defense for Boise, it's a bend but don't break defense. That makes it kind of tricky to analyze them. They let a ton of yards, but they strengthen in the red zone. They're one of a very strong red zone defense, and they're one of the best 3rd down defenses in college football. And then Seth Hennigan has been good this year. 68.6% of his passes, 10 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. A big shout out to our guy Fat Cat Ninja, and also to our guy TJ. Both been members of We Be Pubbin' for a long time, and it means a ton to us. So thank you, both of you guys, for your faith in us. It means a ton. Mike M, pink flat play of the day is a teaser of Memphis plus 11.5 and Colorado under 66. Take it away for us here, Bobano. the first college football game on tonight's card. It'll be going on at the same time that we're cashing our Hamilton plus 3.5. Take it away, Bobano. Tulane, Memphis.
Yeah, this is I like Tulane, but I don't know if I love it now as much. It's up to 5. Like it's funny. This when did this number come out? It was, I think, last Sunday. Even last Monday, there were still some 3s out there. Yeah, I got on Monday morning. I got -3, -120. On Tulane. That's the bet. I've got it in my pocket from Monday morning. -3, -120, -5. Now I'm not sure about making it official, quite honestly. But I don't want Memphis. Because to me, Memphis is a bit of a fugazi, if you will, 4-1 football team. And when you look at it, they played a very weak schedule. Bethune-Cookman, Arkansas State's horrible. Navy's down this year. Boise State's down this year. And Missouri was the one pretty good team they've played. And to me, their defense just isn't good against good offenses. And it's been this way for years with Memphis. I don't think the program's gone in the right direction either under Ryan Silverfield. We've seen a decline since Mike Norvell left and went to Florida State. Like I say, defense year in and year out is pretty rough for them. I like their offense, and the quarterback's not bad, Seth Hennigan, but they just don't get enough stops on the defensive side of the football. Tulane on the flip side, good start to the year. And don't forget how they ended up playing Ole Miss tough without Michael Pratt. Actually, they were right in that game, and that was a game that Michael Pratt didn't play in. And they still took Ole Miss into the fourth quarter. That game was really close, and then things kind of got away from Tulane in the fourth quarter. Tulane is the better team and certainly the much better coach here with Willie. Big coaching advantage with Willie Fritz, one of my favorites here over Ryan Silverfield, who I just don't think has got this Memphis program going in the right direction. The numbers moved a little bit for my liking, but so I'm not going to make Tulane official, lean Tulane. I'm going to jump in on this over, though, now that it's dropped. They bet it under early in the week because of the weather and potential weather concerns. I don't see those weather concerns. And what I do see from Tulane is an offense that with Michael Pratt on the field, they've scored 37, 36, and 35 in 3 of their 4 games with him starting. And you look at Memphis, look, their offense has been good the last 3 weeks, 27 plus in 3 straight games, but their defense has given up 66 in the last 2 games combined. I'm a little surprised this total is not closer to 60, or at the very least in the high 50s. You can now get as low as 54.5 here. And they moved it, I think, because there was some concerns about weather initially, but there won't be any major weather issues tonight. So I'll get in on it now at over 54.5, -110 at Pinnacle.
54.5 at -110. Shout out to Nasty Nate, being a member of Weeby Pump for 11 months. Yeah, I love that you guys got in a 3s and 3.5s. And then I can understand Gagnon saying that, 3.5, 5 is not a huge difference. It's still...
Yep.
I can understand being hesitant. Stacks play today is on Memphis team total over 24.5. Stacks running nice right now. Arnillo liking Memphis here, points and outright. Rance might bet that over. And Director 97 thinks that 75 points will be scored in this game. So it's a very, very high scoring game.
Yeah.
Bobano
to me now, this total's low. There's definitely value on this over now. This number should be a little higher than 54.5.
Bobano on the over 54.5. If you see me hesitant here on Friday Night Football, please know that I've got 2 best bets that I'm adding that I've bet on my Saturday card, and I did tail a spot from Wine Time yesterday. So we'll talk about those. So if you see me hesitant, know that I've got action for you guys. Let's move on to the next spot on the board. 8 p.m. Eastern. Fresno State Bulldogs 5-1, 1-1 in the Mountain West. At the Utah State Aggies 3-3, 1-1 in the Mountain West. We're at Maverick Stadium in Logan, Utah. 58 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy. 6 miles per hour is the weather. Let's get into the line history on this one. We'll start with the total. The total sitting at 55.5. It's dropped from 60. There are injury issues that we will be discussing here on the show. It did drop all the way down to 55, and there was a buyback to 56 and then back to 55.5. So we have dropped 4.5 points now from 60 down to 55.5. Go over to the point spread here on this one. From a spread perspective, we're sitting here with Fresno State at -6. So we've seen the U-shaped movement in this one. So, and it's all, a lot of this is injury related as well. This opened up with Fresno State from, an X's nose perspective in a real bounce back spot, regardless of who's starting at quarterback for them. Drops to 6.5, drops to 6, drops to 5, drops to 4. So when I saw this market move on the home side, Utah State, obviously it did fit what I'm looking for. But when there was a market move that was based on injury, it didn't quite fit the mold that I'm looking for, and that's why it was not one of my best bets. It didn't even come close to making it to that final group for me. So this got all the way down to 4.5, and now it's back up at 6. So we still have the 1 point move towards Utah State, but much different than that 3 point move. Take a look at we did in the total. So let's go over to the cash flow here for this one. Oops, shoot, I got to change the, and we don't have, here's another one we don't have a graphic for, sadly. No graphic for this one, so I'll pull this off. We do have graphics for the next 3, but we don't have one for this one. Cash wise here, 40% of the tickets, 74% of the cash are on the under. Big bets coming in on the under, and it's just dropped and dropped and dropped. And spread wise here, 67% of the tickets, 71% of cash is on Fresno State. Woo Rizzo looking at Utah State team total over 24.5. There's Chang Kim says, can I get one bet from you, gentlemen? I'm going to parlay it, put 200 on. Thanks. Yeah. Yeah, sure. I'll give you the Ticats plus 3.5. That will be mine, but we'll talk more about it here when Bobano returns so we can put something together. But that would be my spot. It'd be Hamilton plus 3.5. But let's talk about the X's and O's here for this spot before we get into the Stanford Colorado game that is must-watch television. Fresno State comes off its first loss of the season. I did break that both down, right? 67-71, yes, okay. And it was a surprising one. 24-19 at Wyoming is 5.5-point favorites. Snapped their 14-game winning streak. And Mikey Keene injured his ankle in that one. So he's unlikely to play here. I don't think that this market move, unless somebody in the chat knows about it, I don't think the bounce back towards Fresno State is because Mikey Keene's in. I think we're going to see Logan Fife. But please let me know if that's changed, because as of this morning, it was going to be Logan Fife under center. And last year he did some things well, but the touchdown to interception ratio was appalling. 2 touchdowns, 6 interceptions in the few spots he got the opportunity to play. He was 84 for 120 for 892 yards. So he did complete 70% of his passes. And, the problem with losing Mikey Keene so from an X's and O's standpoint, Fresno State loses their first game after a 14-game winning streak. They have their backup backup quarterback. It's the type of situation that you would imagine that they would come together as a group, But the problem is their run game's not being good. I mean, they've been using Mikey Keene and their weapons outside to succeed here. And Utah State's run defense is really weak. So you need Elijah Gilliam and Malik Sherrod to lead this ground game. You need them badly. Utah State comes in off an impressive 44-24 home win over Colorado State as 3-point dogs. I mean, it was pretty absurd. They put up 639 total yards of offense, which is unbelievable. McKay Hillstead out with a concussion. And who comes in? Cooper Leggs comes in, and he's incredible. I mean, can we expect that to happen here again this week? It's a very difficult capping spot here. Earl Sports Bet says this line's moved too much. Says give me the over 55.5. Eric Jones still leaning towards the under. Nate Dogg leaning towards Utah State. Craig Wood says Utah State comes out of the gate awful. Goes down 17 last week for Colorado State. Comes back and won. Look for a live bet on Utah State. The question is, are you able to explain the line move? And that still is with Logan Fife at quarterback and not Mikey Keene. And can you trust, if it is Logan Fife, can you trust the ground game against this very weak run defense from Utah State? And then can you trust Coop to do it again? I mean, these are tough. 639 total yards last week. Let's hear what Bobano has to say about this spot. Take it away, Bobano. Fresno State, Bulldogs, Utah State, Aggies at Maverick Stadium.
Yeah, I am not a Logan Fife fan. He's definitely not Jake Hayner from last year. He's definitely not Mikey Keene, who from this year. There is a downgrade. Fresno has struggled to run the football. That's the key. If the run game can get going, and it should, because Utah State can't really stop the run. I do want to point out, I think the ground game can get going because you look at who Fresno's played. Wyoming. They played, Wyoming was a really good run defense. And so they played some teams that are capable. The teams that they can run against, they ran against Purdue, and that's why they scored 35 points. they are capable of doing it. Now, they've always been more of a pass-heavy offense because they've had the quarterback play. But to me, a part of the reason why Fresno's run numbers aren't great is A, they've had big leads in these games. B, the passing game has worked, and they haven't needed to commit to the run too much. But I think in this matchup, they can. They can move the football. They can run it because Utah State hasn't stopped anybody from running the football against them this year. On the flip side for Utah State, there's not a big difference in their quarterbacks because they played two quarterbacks so far this year. The guy that started a couple weeks ago is injured. Cooper Legas had to take over, and Cooper Legas is an experienced quarterback. This is another one where I'm going against totals moves in each of these first two games with the Tulane-Memphis game and now this one. I can't believe this is down to 55.5. Utah State is not the kind of team that should be lined in the mid-50s. 68 points last week in their game, 67 points. And if anyone's watched UConn's not a great offense. And that game, Utah State and UConn got to 67 points. 83 points with them and James Madison. 60 points with Air Force. And Air Force plays at one of the slowest paces in college football. And that game still had 60 points in it. So I'm going to go over this number. It's a reaction probably to the Logan Fife news. That's probably a big reason why this game's taken under money, but it's taken too much under money at this point, in my opinion. So over 55.5, minus 105 at Pinnacle.
You got it. Bobano staring in the face of these market moves. And I don't find, as I said, like this was on Wednesday and right after, actually it was even Tuesday night when I was putting together the short list for what I wanted for best bets. This was cut very quickly from it. I don't feel comfortable with it. And I expect that Utah State can be run on, but I would like to know, that this team isn't ranked 117th in the country running the ball. But I hear what you're saying, the X's and O's with who they played. That all makes sense. And I will cheer you on. Let's move on to the big one tonight, and a very angry prime time about how late this one is starting. 10 p.m. Eastern. Stanford Cardinal 1-4, 0-3 in the Pac-12 against Colorado Buffaloes 4-2, 1-2 in the Pac-12. Folsom Field in Boulder, Colorado. 42 Fahrenheit clear, 4 miles per hour. Wine Time Sports says his best bet for today is on Stanford plus 12. Says Colorado shouldn't be 12-point favorites against anyone in the Pac-12. Colorado is the third worst team in the Pac-12 and only ahead of ASU and Stanford. Copy and paste that from our guy Wine Time Sports. Wine Time Sports also made his debut here, Betting with the Bag debut yesterday, and we've cut out that breakdown for college football best bets. Let's get into the line history here for this one. From a total perspective, we are sitting at 59.5. This opened up at 59. It went up to 60, and now we've dropped a half point to 59.5. It is juiced to the under, so maybe 59's coming. 59 at Bet Chris right now as well. From a point spread perspective, we're sitting here with Colorado at 12 at Pinnacle. This opened up with Colorado minus 11, went to minus 12, back to 11, and now again back to 12. And that 12 is juiced. Other books are hanging 12.5. So let's take a look at the cash flow then for this spot. A Friday night game involving the Buffaloes. You can imagine that there'll be a flurry of cash late coming in on Colorado. 75% of the tickets and 52% of the cash on the Buffalo. And from a total standpoint, we have 37% of the tickets and 71% of the cash on the under in this Cardinal Buffaloes game. So and Wine Time saying Stanford stays within 10 in this one. The Stanford players aren't going to be out there talking shit. We know Colorado will be. Stanford is really going to want this game. It's too bad from an X's and O's standpoint that Colorado is coming off of a, real tough game, against the team that they should have dominated. So that's too bad because it's sort of I'd rather them coming in fat and happy if I want to be on Stanford. But Stanford is coming in off a bye, and you'll see my best bets for tomorrow are all similar situations. Coming in off a bye, coming in off a loss. For Stanford, it's 4 straight losses, with the last 3 coming at home. The homestand started with that alarming 30-23 loss versus FCS Sacramento State as 7-point favorites. Now we know that Sacramento State's a really good football team this year, but still alarming. And then they played Arizona tough. They lose 21-20 as 13-point dogs. And then they come in off being taken to the woodshed by Oregon in a 42-6 loss at home as 27-point dogs. They're averaging 19 points per game. Very difficult to trust. And Justin Lamson, you don't really want him throwing the ball too much. I mean, he's more dangerous with his legs. Colorado comes in off just barely getting by Arizona on the road as 3-point favorites, 27-24 to snap an 8-game Pac-12 losing streak. But they were outgained 392 to 295 in that one. Their defense can't be trusted. And they, get burned by big plays. They allow a ton of yards per play. I too wonder if Stanford is the play. And Friday night football, Folsom Field sold out against prime time. I imagine the line will get better if you want to bet Stanford. But let's hear what Bobano has to say about this spot. Again, I just wish they were coming in fat and happy, and they're not coming in fat and happy. Take it away for us here, Bobano. Stanford Cardinal off the bye at the Colorado Buffaloes at Folsom Field.
Yeah, this one's a tricky game. Tricky game for the total, tricky game for the side. I actually think I'd lean Stanford, honestly, before I take Colorado. The thing with Colorado is they don't have depth. It's the one thing they still don't have. And you can see it along the offensive and defensive lines. That defensive line is already wearing down. Like, there's zero pass rush the last couple of games from this Colorado team, and that's just it's a lack of depth. And it's going to still take Deion Sanders a year or two to build it up here at Colorado. So that's the concern. The longer the season goes on, they haven't had a bye week yet either. That is something that really stands out to me for a team that hasn't had doesn't have depth across the board yet. And you can see it. The Oregon game, they get blown out. The USC game, they got back into it late, I think, because USC took their foot off the gas, but that was not a good first half, and they fell behind big. The Arizona State game last week, where, look, Arizona State's not a great team, and Colorado was life and death to win that game. And maybe you got a push if you took Colorado, but you definitely didn't cash a ticket there. So the idea of laying this kind of number with Colorado is not very appealing to me, even though they're going to have Travis Hunter back, which is big. We saw what he did early in the season, playing at both positions, both sides of the football, wide receiver and cornerback. That's huge. But this defense, I don't trust laying these kind of points. And keep in mind, the last time we saw them at Folsom Field in a night game, this late, it was a Saturday that time, not a Friday, but it was against Colorado State. And what were they, 3 touchdown favorites in that game? And they needed overtime to win that game. So, yeah, I can't lay points with Colorado. Can I trust Stanford, though? Stanford, they've had games like Arizona. They were right in that game. They showed up, but they've also had some really ugly performances. There's really been zero consistency from game to game in this Stanford team. And keep in mind, too, at the quarterback position, they've had an injury to Ashton Daniels. He's been banged up. Remember, he ended up leaving the game last week or a couple weeks ago due to injury. We'll see if he's good to go. He's been splitting time, Daniels, with Justin Lamson. Troy Taylor, the quarterback, has used both guys. Stanford's coming in off a bye week. So that's the nice thing. There's a little bit of a spot advantage here for Stanford in this game. I'm honestly leaning Stanford, but it's a very modest lean. It's nothing I'm making official on this game. The same thing with the total. The concern for me with the total is I think Colorado can score on Stanford, but as much as I've got concerns about this bad Colorado defense, they face some much better offenses than what they've seen, than what they're going to see from Stanford tonight. So tricky call with that as well. So for me, just a lean to Stanford, nothing official.
I'm curious to see what this ends up at. Very, very curious here to see what it ends up at. Right now on the spread, we have 75% of the tickets on Colorado, but just 52% of the cash. I imagine that ticket count goes up on Colorado, so I'd like to see what I can get here. And I also like to see the Ticats win, or at least cover the 3.5 for me on the 7 p.m. game. But Stanford is a real possibility here for me. And I just need to wait a little bit more at this point. And a lean for our guy, Bobano. So that's where we finish off. So we're going to get into our Saturday best bets right now. Saturday best bets. Your feeling here with Stanford off of a bye. Do we trust Taylor here? What are your thoughts on him as a coach? You're muted, my man.
Yeah, he's better than David Shaw. That much I know. And, I was impressed. Look, let's not forget, really the only piece of evidence we've got as to Troy Taylor's ability to have his team prepared following extra time would probably be the season opener, at Hawaii. And that's not easy, making the trip to the island like that. First game of the season. Now, Hawaii's not great this year, but they wire to wire put a beat down on Hawaii, 37-24. And of course, they had all summer, all camp, all off season to get ready for that game. And they looked ready. They looked like a well-prepared football team for that game against Hawaii with Troy Taylor. So now this is another opportunity, bye week. So if you're basing it off that game, then, you would think they're going to be ready to go here, Stanford. But again, this is a Colorado team just has better athletes, better higher level of recruits because Dion's already filling up the pipeline here. But man, Stanford did look good when they had extra time to prepare for that Hawaii game. And now they're off the bye week. And like I said, Colorado has not had a week off this year. To me, that's a concern if you're going to lay 11.5, running on fumes, a little bit thin on the defensive and offensive lines. That is something that worries you with a team that's, they don't have that depth yet. And here they are, Colorado. They've played every single week this season without a week off. This is now going to be their, 7th game without a bye week. That starts to add up when you get into mid to late October. So we'll see.
I'm very interested more and more on Stanford. We have a message from Perky Sanderson. It's not letting me show it, but he wants Fresno and Colorado parlay. Fresno -4.5, Colorado parlay. He's calling it the Spank Me Mommy Spank Me play of the day. I think he wanted me just to say that out loud. It's not letting me show it, so I will say it out loud. All right, let's get into best bets for me. This is for the Saturday card. So I've already moved on 3 now spots. Two sort of. I'm on Cincinnati -5 and Texas Tech money line. Then I did one of my very, very rare parlays. I parlayed Cincinnati money line and Texas Tech money line at +175. Then I added Wine Time Sports, one of his best bets from our clipped video, Oregon Washington under 67. I added that this morning, 66.5 at some books, not all of them. And then here are my additions. Let's go. 2 p.m. Eastern. Now, these are not high-profile games, but I just want to tell you guys what I'm betting. The Navy Midshipmen, 2-3, 1-2 in the American at the Charlotte 49ers, 1-4, 0-1 in the American, Jerry Richardson Stadium, Charlotte, North Carolina. These were the last 2 cuts for me on the Best Bets video yesterday, and I decided to roll with them here today. So here we go. I am on the Charlotte 49ers. I decided to send it in. I don't want to put too much pressure on my Pinnacle account. And, I could, if I had just bet it on the Pinnacle account at +3 at -102, but I sent it in at +3 at -110. I'm on that spot here. Charlotte +3. Now, this opened up at 3.5. I'm sure a lot of very skilled cappers got it at 3.5. I'm not one of them. I got it at 3. Unfortunately, that's not changed here. It's still +3 at -102. This opened up at +3.5 5 days ago, and it lasted there for 13 hours before it hit the 3, and it's just been stagnant at that number here. From a total perspective, move over here. From a total perspective, we're sitting at 44.5. There's going to be a lot of running in this game. This opened up at 45, and we have U-shaped movement. This got all the way down to 43, and now it's back up to 44.5. Ronnie and Bergia saying, yeah, this Navy team is a fade. That is exactly what I want to hear. So go to the cash flow quickly before I do my X's and O's, and then hear what Bobano has to say about this spot. This is 2 p.m. action here. You have Charlotte, a very public spot. And that makes me nervous. And that was the reason why I didn't make my final cut, but I sat with it longer and I'm sticking with it. You have 81% of the tickets, now 80% of the tickets and 77% of cash on Charlotte. So yeah, I would like a bigger line move than 3.5 to 3. You have 90% of the tickets, 94% cash on the under. I'm that Heat says Charlotte played Florida tough, should handle Navy. Also, we got our guy DC Capper handing out all of his action here, and I love a DC Capper. I'll copy and paste it as well. Navy comes in off snapping their 2-game losing streak with a 27-24 win at home over North Texas, a 6.5-point favorites. Their freshman quarterback, Blake Horvath, he ran for 88 yards on 18 carries, but he hurt his thumb and he's out for several weeks. So it's back to Ty Lavatai, he was 4 of 8 through the air for 75 yards, and Horvath is better than him. So it's back to Lavatai, and then you have Alex Texa at running back, and he's very strong. He ran 17 times for 137 yards and 2 touchdowns, and this is a problem. It's a problem because the Charlotte defense is bad and their run defense is bad. They allow 163.6 yards per game. But do you believe in Biff Poggi? I mean, it's about whether you believe in Biff. And I do. I know he's going to turn this program around, and I think that he's going to figure out, and it's, you have to understand, an old coach like him has got to be able to put together a defense that can stymie a pretty simple game plan for Navy. So Navy averages 248.2 rush yards per game. That's 4th in the country. Their defense is bad. I mean, they're allowing 397.4 yards per game. They're allowing a ton of rush yards. They're allowing pass yards. And everybody's surprised how bad their defense is under, Newbury, who is supposed to be a defensive guy. Last week, they allowed 206 yards on the ground, 267 yards passing. And you'll see this as, for me, for best bet material. Here's a Charlotte team. You'll see this in the next game too. Charlotte comes in off their bye week. They were last seen suffering their 4th straight loss. They've had an extremely tough schedule. The last 2 road losses, 22-7 as 28-point dogs at Florida. They played pretty well. Then last week, 34-16 loss at SMU as 22.5-point dogs. They cover both. And now they're playing against a much easier opponent. In that Mustang loss, Trexler Ively replaced Jalen Jones at quarterback, 10 of 17 for 170 yards with a TD and interception. Jones was just 9 of 15 for 57 yards, but he rushed. We know that that's what Jones will do. He had 55 yards on 10 carries. So now you have, 2 capable quarterbacks, one that will use his legs, one that you can use his arm, two different game plans you can have to mess the defense up, spots that I think that Poggi is going to be able to handle. So they're coming home after a bye, after losing 4 straight against weaker competition, and I see why 78% of the tickets are on them. I'm on them too. Charlotte 49ers for me, +3 available right now. Take it away for us here, Bobano. What do you think of my spot on Charlotte?
This is on my card too. I mean, it's not just me it's not just me saying I kind of like it. Like last week, sometimes when you throw these games at me for Saturday, I'm like, I kind of like it, or I disagree, or whatever. No, this is a play for me. This is an official play for me on my Saturday card as well with Charlotte. Charlotte's run defense numbers don't look good. They don't. But you have to factor in who they've played. You really do. You have to factor in they've played Florida. They've played SMU. They've played teams that can run. Georgia State, an outstanding run-first offense. They've really had to play some really good rushing teams that can run the football. Maryland's another team that can run the football. Charlotte had to play all of them. So you're right. It was a tough schedule. Those are all good. Even Georgia State's a good team. Maryland, we know, is a capable team. Florida, a very good team this year. SMU's a very good team this year. So they have really gone through a little bit of a gauntlet there. They get a bye week. They get to catch their breath. I've talked about for years how you're always giving yourself a better chance to contain the triple option offense when you have a bye week and you have an extra time to prepare to face them. And Charlotte does have that here in this game. Meanwhile, you've got Navy. And here's Navy 3. Actually, it was +3.5 is my bet on Charlotte. So I think it's down to 3, as you said, in most spots. But here's Navy, that this year, so far, they've played 5 games on their schedule. They have yet to cover as a favorite, by the way. And that's another thing that really appealed to me about taking Charlotte here as a home underdog. Navy's 0-3 against the spread as a favorite, laying points. Wagner, they didn't cover. South Florida, they lost outright, as 3.5-point favorites. Last week against North Texas, they probably should have lost outright in that game. North Texas racked up 473 total yards of offense in that football game. They actually outgained Navy. They were plus, I believe, close to plus 60 in total yard advantage for North Texas. So I think North Texas probably should have won that game. Navy escapes with 27-24. Keep in mind, North Texas fumbled in the red zone and turned it over in the red zone a couple of times, or it got stopped on 4th down once as well. So that was a very, very fortuitous, borderline fraudulent win last week for Navy against North Texas. Their defense is just not very good. And I think when you look at Charlotte, too, their offense is the area of the team that does need to improve. It's been a hit or miss, erratic offense so far this season. It'll be interesting to see how they fare here in this game and who's going to play quarterback. And it's really not that big of a deal because the quarterbacks have both been up and down. They've gone back and forth with Trexler, Ivy, and Jalen Jones. But to me, this is more about, when you look at this Navy defense, they've struggled all year. Even, it doesn't matter what the opponent is. We thought, wow, Notre Dame's offense really good and Navy got ripped apart. Well, Notre Dame's offense has kind of cooled down since then. So, and the other teams that Navy played, they were able to move the football with ease against them. But you look at Navy's numbers on the defensive side of the football, they haven't been pretty. They haven't stopped the 93rd as far as passing yards per game, 90th or 86th as far as rushing yards allowed per game. Neither one is very good. I think it's an opportunity here for Charlotte's offense as well, taking a bit of a step down in class after you had to play Florida's defense, you had to play Maryland, you had to play SMU. So I think the stars align here with you, and I'm with you here, Jimmy, with Charlotte.
I love it. Do you want we're going to use this for your record keeping, action?
Oh, yeah, it's an official play. Why not?
Do you want
Absolutely.
3.5 at -122 or 3 at -102?
Yeah, I'll go 3 in the hook. If 3 in the hook's available, I'll take it because that's what I bet.
Plus 3.5 at -122 for Bobano. Let's move on to my final addition to my best bets for my action. I only have 6 bets and really 5 because one is a parlay. Here we go. Marshall, Georgia State. I am on Georgia State money line here with this one. Let's break it down. We'll start with the line history here for this. This is nice 7:30 action on Saturday night. That's exactly what my Saturday night needs. 7:30 p.m. college football action. So from a line history standpoint,
it doesn't need Arkansas, Alabama. It doesn't need Oregon, Washington. It needs Marshall and Georgia State. Gotta love it. Yeah.
It does. It does. Because I need action, and I don't. Now that you've been in the game for a long time, this isn't for fun. It's fun.
Oh, you go where the money is. You go where the opportunities
fun to win
are.
and to break the games down, have a plan, and then be rewarded for it. And so this total opened up at 57. It's dropped all the way down to 54. We have a 3-point drop and it's a 7 p.m. start. Sorry, I thought it was 7:30, but it's 7 p.m. start. And we have it up there. Okay, that's the total. Is a drop, 3.5-point drop. From a spread perspective, the -1 on Georgia State is now at -111. This was at even money, the -1 a little while ago, but it opened at +1. We'll probably get a better idea of it if we just look at the money line here. When I sent it in, I sent it at Bet365 at -115. It was -116 at Pinnacle at the time. So now it's still -116 at Pinnacle, but the other books have been moving. They're moving here. So here we go. Let's break this one down. Take a look at the cash flow for this spot. Move over here. And from a cash flow perspective, for the total, there's 25% of the tickets and 46% of the cash on the over. It's funny because it doesn't seem to be affecting the market. It keeps dropping. From a money line standpoint, 53% of the tickets and 86% of the cash is on Georgia State. I love that. I love seeing that. And then from a point spread perspective, it's 74% and 85% on Georgia State. So let's go here. Both teams come in off having their season opening 4-game winning streak snapped. Marshall's had their snapped in a 48-41 loss at NC State at 6.5-point dogs. Marshall has a very strong offense. It's very strong, but Fancher is not consistent enough for me. 56.9% of his passes are what he completes. Now, look, this offense is very strong, and that's because of Rasheen Ali. But, Fancher, 6 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Ali's run for 538 yards. He's 9 touchdowns. Look, he's an absolute monster. This Marshall defense is taking a step back this year. And this is for exactly what I want from an X's and O's standpoint. Look, I don't want to fade a team that's just coming off of a loss, but I want to back a team that is coming off of their bye week, just got slapped in the face, and has been sitting there with this anger. 28-7 loss at home to Troy as 1-point favorites. Now, we know Troy's a good team, but they were beaten badly. They were outgained 410 to 298. They were outscored 22-0 in the second half, and then they sit in it. They sit as that perfect season gone. Not that they were going to, but they're 4-0 to start the year, and then they sit with this loss. And Darren Granger, I believe in the senior quarterback. He's almost completing 70% of his passes, 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Marcus Carroll, I mean, we talk about Rasheen Ali, who's very strong. Marcus Carroll is right there with him. I mean, he's a very strong running back. And then one thing that, is arguable, but the best receiver is, a Panther in this game for me. It's Robert Lewis. So I just feel like this is the perfect bounce back spot for Georgia State, and I backed them. So take it away for us here, Bobano. Tell me what you're thinking of this spot, Marshall, Georgia State.
Another one, Jimmy. I'm on the same side, same one, and it's 2 teams, and it's very similar spots. And you saw it, and I saw it as well. I'm on Georgia State. I'll give you the official play number right now that I'll give you for this right now. Let me just see if I can find it. Where is the screen? Did it close on me? Okay. But yeah, Georgia State for me in this one as well. And to me, that there's things that I think it's going to come down to who can run the ball and who can stop the run in this game. That's, I think, going to be a very, very big component of this one. Minus 112, Georgia State money line. Minus 112 Georgia State money line at ProLine Plus. So there we go. We'll lock that in. To me, you got a team off a bye week and that loss to Troy, which is no shame in that. Troy is an excellent defense. I still believe in Darren Granger. He's a dual threat quarterback. He's actually a better running quarterback than he is throwing. I think he's improved as a passer, but he is definitely more dangerous with his legs and being able to run and escape the pocket. And to me, when you look at this game, and on the Marshall side, you're right. They're more of a run-heavy offense. Their run game is better than their pass game. Fancher's okay. He's not great. And when you look at these 2 teams as far as stopping the run, Georgia State stopping the run this year, 22nd. In college football, 102 rushing yards per game allowed and only 3.3 yards per carry. So their run defense, Georgia State, pretty good when you think about it, especially when you factor in their schedule, having to play, some of the teams they did, including Troy, Coastal Carolina. UConn's a run-first offense there with Victor Rosa. So, that's definitely, I think, solid numbers for this Georgia run D. Meanwhile, you look at Marshall and what they've done stopping the run. It's been a little bit more of a struggle for them. They're 113th, 182 rushing yards per game allowed for this Marshall run defense, 5.4 yards per carry. So on a yards per carry basis, Marshall's ranked 128th in the country as far as yards per play allowed on the ground. That's not what you want to see against Georgia State, which is definitely a run-first offense, including a mobile quarterback that can run. The spot is in Georgia State's favor. Marshall's coming off 3 enormous games, really, for a program like this playing. And even the East Carolina game is kind of a big game, but especially playing Virginia Tech, you win that game. Old Dominion, you win that game. NC State on the road last week, 48-41 loss. Tough to bring it back and ramp it up again for Marshall coming off a 3-game gauntlet like that. Meanwhile, you've got this rested Georgia State team. The spot says Georgia State. I think the matchups work for Georgia State. The better run team and the better run defense, I think, are both based on the numbers with Georgia State. And the numbers good. You're going to pick them here in this game. So, and I don't think Marshall's nearly as good as they've been in the past, especially their defense. I think their defense definitely has taken a huge step back. Marshall's had some pretty good defenses going back to when Doc Holliday, if you'll remember, was their coach many years ago, was there for a long time. Hasn't been the same defense. It's slowly gotten worse under Charles Huff, the current head coach. I think at this price, spot says Georgia State. Matchups are in Georgia State's favor. I'll take them on the money line here.
I love the sounds of all of this. My 2 additions are also on Bobano's card. Yep. I love it. Let's review all action. That is our show for today. But Mike Wilkerson asked for a birthday pick. It's his birthday weekend. Also, Chang Kim wants a top bet from both of us that he wants to put in a parlay. So for me, it's the Ticats plus 3.5. That is the best bet, at least for sure for me on Friday's card. And it's the one that I most want to give out in this spot. And I'm running real hot. I don't want to go back and see how many I've hit in a row birthday picks, but it's the hottest I've ever been on these birthday picks. And it's all in the name of our guy, Pistol Pete Loshak. That's who we're trying to follow in the footsteps of with the birthday pick. So I'm giving Ticats plus 3.5. Bobano, I'm going to review all your action and then let us know which one that you want to give for the birthday pick. But for me, it is the Ticats that will be playing right in front of our very own Bobano. Robert Franklin has his action in Temple, in Texas over 68.5. Georgia Southern and James Madison over 59. And UCF minus 2.5. UAB UTSA at over 67. Copy and paste that, Robert Franklin. Thank you for
Holy shit. I think I like all of those. Actually, South Florida, I'm not as in love with that. I think Florida Atlantic got a boost last week from the quarterback change to Richardson in the bye week under Tom Herman, who's a good coach. So I might be against that South Florida look that Robert mentioned. But other than that, I like those totals. I like all three. That UAB UTSA over is one of my favorite overs this week. That should be a lot of points there.
I love it. Let's review all action here for Friday the 13th. I'm on the Ticats plus 3.5. Bobano's on the Ticats team total over 22.5. Bobano's then on the Saskatchewan Calgary over 48.5. He's on the Alouettes money line. Again, that's the tricky spot where if Hamilton wins, then the Alouettes are going to smash. If the Lions win, the Elks should be bet immediately. We are on the Ticats. And because we're on the Ticats, if Hamilton wins, Bobano will have destroyed that line. I mean, that money line goes up to over minus 200. So interesting spot there. And then Argo's first quarter, first half for me when this line comes out, if it's not ridiculous, because of the comments that Dinwiddie said about Chad Kelly. I really believe it. So there we go there. In NHL, Bobano's all over Coyotes Devils. I'm off it. Coyotes plus 212, over 6.5. Keller over 2.5 shots, and Hughes anytime goal. Bobano's on the over 6.5 in Washington, Pittsburgh. Those Washington-Pittsburgh games, by the way, if we're going to start, and I want to wait till deeper in the season, but the first periods would go under, and the full games would go over.
Yep.
Every game. I don't want to say every game, but it was just.
I know the full game overs are 5-2 in the last 7 meetings coming into tonight. Yeah, the full game. And
those first period unders, yep. And then it would just erupt at some point, because there's snipers on both sides. Then tonight, Bobano's on the over 54.5 in Tulane, Memphis. Mike M's pimp slap play today is a teaser with Memphis plus 11.5, Colorado under 66. Justin McElvey stacks play today's Memphis team total over 24.5. Bobano's on the over 55.5 in Fresno State, Utah State, and we're both interested in Stanford. But I would like to see how high this line goes up. And then best bets for me, Charlotte is my first of my final 2 editions. Bobano's on it as well. And then Georgia State and Bobano is on it as well. We're both on the money line. I got minus 115 when I bet it. He got minus 112.
I'll add a best bet. We'll add it to the record before we sign off here, since it's a little shorter show today. For Saturday. Here's one that I like as far as the side goes. And this is actually a bigger game on the card for Saturday. Let's go with Auburn plus 11.5 at LSU. I just think that's too many points for a really bad defense. 11 plus 11.5 minus 110 at DraftKings. Look, Auburn, with what we saw Georgia do to Kentucky last week, I think the fact that Auburn was tied with Georgia with 3 minutes to go a few weeks ago looks even better, for this Auburn team. And when I look at Auburn, the offense is slowly getting better, which you expect. Hugh Freeze is a good offensive-minded head coach. You expect the offense to get better under his leadership. And I think sure enough, slowly it is with Peyton Thorne starting to run the football better. I love that this is another spot. Jimmy talked about the bye week spots. Here's another one. You've got Auburn off a bye week here for this game at LSU, whereas LSU's coming off, look at this gauntlet, down to the wire with Arkansas, 34-31, down to the wire with Ole Miss, 55-49, that's when they lost. They beat Arkansas, they lost to Ole Miss, down to the wire with Missouri last week. That game was nuts, back and forth, tons of points. Looked like LSU was trailing the whole game. It looked like they were going to lose. Missouri pulls ahead. LSU comes back and takes the lead, and then the pick six, which decided the point spread cover. All those games in a row, 3 in a row, Arkansas, it was a wild game. Ole Miss, wild game. Missouri, wild game. And now they got to ramp it up again for a 4th straight week with no bye week, with no rest, and try to take on a rested Auburn team. That's a spot advantage big time here for Auburn. Plus, you're playing a defense that can't get stops. LSU can't stop anybody. The reason they won last week is because of their offense, not their defense. And I think that is definitely something that you have to point out right now. So I like Auburn there, plus 11.5. We'll put that on the official card as well.
I love it. Auburn plus 11.5. And I was on and gave it out on the show, Auburn against Georgia in that game. Auburn really stepped up in that spot. But unfortunately, I was also I gave that out with Nebraska at Michigan. So it's not all glory, unfortunately. No. But I was on Auburn in that spot. Bobano on Auburn plus 11.
I think Virginia Tech's a good spot this week. I won't make that one official, but that's one I like quite a bit too. Virginia Tech against Wake at a pick 'em. Wake's not the same team this year.
I love it. I love it. And Noli Knows is coming and giving us the Stanford, Colorado under. So it is time for, and maybe you just answered it with Auburn, but it's time for the addition for a birthday bet for Mike Wilkerson and for Chang Kim, who is a member here at Pub and looking for a spot to parlay our spots. And I gave him Ticats plus 3.5. What is your spot there for birthday and for Chang?
Birthday pick. Let me see here. Look, it's been excellent. We'll roll with it. I'm going to go with the Calgary, Saskatchewan over in the CFL game tonight, 48.5.
You got it, over 48.5, and I'm on the Ticats plus 3.5. That'll work for your parlay chain too, because the first game is at 7, and then hopefully it's live for the late game and give you a whole night of glory for you. There we go. There we go. Thank you guys all so much for being a part of this. And Michael Wilkerson, have a great, great birthday weekend, my friend. We have reviewed all action here on the show. Mike Wilkerson, sorry. We both just gave it to you, my man. So I had to log off for a while. But we both just gave it to you. So for me, the birthday pick is the Ticats plus 3.5 at 7 p.m. this evening. And for Bobano, it's the Calgary, Saskatchewan over 48.5. And have a wonderful birthday, my friend. And thank you for being here as part of your birthday. It means a ton to us. And let's roll into the weekend. Shout out to all you guys, Ian Shaber, Johnny K, Mikey Wilkerson on his birthday. Woo, Rizza. Woo, woo, woo. Tori Coker, Raymond Reichart, Dan Kelly, Ryan Kozlowski, Noli Knows, Kadesh Dean, my guy KD in the house. Thank you guys. Mikey M, the Pimp Slap play today. We've just discussed it a couple times there. It is the teaser here. I'll pull it back up for you guys. The Pimp Slap play of the day is Memphis plus 11.5 and the Colorado under 66. Nunya Saturated says, who do you guys like to make the World Series? I don't even want to really get. I just, Phillies make it, and I make 9K, and then all the world is right.
I'll throw it out. Texas, Philadelphia. Texas wins. Bet against Bruce Bochy at your own risk at this point.
Yeah, I hear that. But I know
you want Bochy gets his 4th World Series. Why not? The guy can't be beaten right now in the playoffs.
I know you want me to add 9K to my bankroll, though, don't you, Bobano? Come on.
Yeah.
I know you'll be. So if you're wrong and the Phillies are in the World Series against Texas, then it's great news. You can celebrate that as well. Ronnie and Bergia, Arnillo, a graduate of Georgia State, who were back in this weekend, Arnillo. Hope your boys take it home for us. Von Polo, Perky Sanderson. Thank you guys. Philly Eagle Flyer, DC Capper, who's going up against me with his top play, which is very nervous. He's on Kansas State plus 1.5, and I am on Texas Tech, and so is Wine Time Sports. Who are you on in that game, Bobano?
Texas, I'm on the over in that game. No side. That's a tough side. It really is. I think I probably lean Texas Tech because I've started to see some vulnerability on the road from K-State.
Oh, yeah.
K-State has not been as good on the road in recent weeks, and that concerns me a bit. But I also know that team is going to play a lot better. I know they weren't happy with them. Will Howard about as bad a game as he'll play at quarterback last week.
You heard what he said. Did you see his quote after the game?
Yeah.
It was awful. Yeah. Awful. He takes the blame, and then he then he says, no, other people are at fault too. I hate, just be a man here.
Yeah.
Kelly McInnes, Christopher Comatini, Director 97, Darren Turner, Craig Wood, Jesse Gomez, Silver Malco, Flea Mathis, Cam Raphael. Thank you guys all so much for supporting the show here. Deacon Mike, happy birthday. Our guy, Deacon Mike, already raising a glass. So we have Deacon Mike's birthday. I didn't have that here. I didn't write that in when he Deacon Mike birthday is today. Much love, Deacon, my man. Bobano, can you please put a bow on this show? I've got to get my producing chops here and get ready to close it all out. But thank you, Bobano, for all your hard work. I love these Fridays that we share together. Please follow Bobano on Twitter at Bobano. And also, you must watch his big Hit in the Books college football show alongside Connor Mack, the #1 show on this channel. Take it away here for us, Bobano, and send us home. And bless. We
have a great daytime doubleheader lineup on Mondays. It's Dutch and Dabby Cab with the Sesh Medicate Mondays, 11 a.m. Eastern. And then it's Connor and I with Hitting the Books right after that at 1 p.m. Eastern. So better be tuning in on Mondays during the day right here on Pub Sports Radio. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. Hit that like button. I love being here with Jimmy every couple of Fridays. Let's cash some tickets this weekend. And Leche and those bookmakers.
Let's go.
Pub Sports Radio's the crew, that's a fact. We all about bread, making bank accounts fat. Who the hell is that? LJ from the H, I stack green like Boston. Shout out to Nasty Nate from down south, where we ride on slab. 420 highway smoking with that boy Dabby Cab. Swing by Dallas with them Cowboy fans so we can smoke out J Money, cause you know that's our mans. Us against the bookies, put money in our pockets. Fly out to Vegas, meet up with Ski Profit. Hit the sports books, we got money to stack. Can't forget them college picks with that boy Connor Mack.